Yes, y'all. It's going down right now. Episode 75 of the 22 Shots of Moods and Horror podcast is coming at you live. I am your host, Moodz616. And of course, I've always got my homeboy, my stepson, the humble one, the golden child, Double Shot J, also known as JP. What's going on, homies?
Yo, we're back. We took a little bit of a break there, right?
Just a little bit, yeah. And on that note, I was actually scratching my arm because I'm peeling. I got burnt.
Yeah, because you went on vacation, huh?
Yeah, I was did a couple weeks in Cancun, and I swear to the good Lord, man, there is absolutely nothing left for an ozone layer. Like I was wearing, I usually don't burn that much, but I'm wearing like 45, and I'm fucking burning. I'm like, I don't even have fair skin. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this world if you're burning wearing like 45? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So, but yeah, no, it was a good trip, man. It was nice to get away for a couple weeks, kind of get rid of, the mental state and the grind that is home and, go to an unfamiliar place. Well, it's familiar to me, I guess, a little bit, but, no, it was nice. It was nice. Good weather, drank a lot of beer. It was a different type of trip for me this time around because, I have my son with me and, yeah, it's weird going on vacation with a kid because you can't do necessarily all the things that you were prone to doing before. Like going club
you have to
hopping.
schedule around a little bit more.
Well, yeah, I just honestly just had to be responsible. So, it was that thing, so we spent a lot of time just, on the beach building sandcastles, like, because it was quite windy, like there was a lot of waves, and he was pretty much scared to go near the water because, I mean, it's really rough, right?
Yeah.
You get, he'd go near the water, a wave would hit him, and he'd literally be doing like somersaults. He's like, fuck this, I'm out of here, man. But then again, you see adults, the same thing would happen to them too. So spent a lot of time just on the beach, and then swim up bar, which was, kid friendly too. So, the kids would be playing in there and have some beers and things. So it was a good trip, man. I had fun. It was nice to get away.
That's good.
So what were you up to these last couple weeks?
Well, before I get into what I was up to, fun fact about myself, I've actually never been to the ocean or the beach anywhere. And I lived in Florida and I lived in South Carolina for about a year each. And I never went to the beach ever in my life.
You lived in Florida and you never went to the beach. That's insane. Even South Carolina. That's crazy, man.
Uh-huh.
That's so crazy. Wow. Yeah, it's salty, man.
Yeah, it's an odd thing about me. Like I've had opportunities. I remember when I was in high school, a lot of my friends did these like summer trips where as soon as summer happened, they would all like rent like a little thing down at the beach or something, and then they would go party for like a week straight. And it costs a lot of money to do that, and I never got motivated enough to like save the money during the winter months to then have it during the summer. So I just would never go. But I always kind of wanted to a lot. As soon as they would get back, they'd tell me about it and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm definitely going next year." And then it would roll around, and I'd just be like, I think I'm gonna skip it." I don't know why. I just always did. But besides that, man, these past couple weeks, it's been weird. Like I don't even remember when we record. It feels like we recorded so long ago, but didn't. I think we just uploaded the show. We recorded the show a week before we actually uploaded it. It was like a weird thing. When did we actually record? It was like the 3rd, right? The 4th.
Yeah, we. That's right. Because I left on the 7th, and we recorded on that prior Thursday. So yeah, like the 3rd or something. Which is weird. Yeah, because we generally record on Thursdays or Fridays and upload by Monday. Right. So, yeah, in this case, it was a whole nother week. So, yeah, I mean, we haven't recorded in 3 weeks then.
Yeah.
So it's 3 weeks exactly.
It's been a while. But, since then, we've actually did a few different things. Since the last time it was me and you on an episode, we've done, which was the Valentine show, I believe, when it was just me and you. We also did the mini shots that we uploaded, which turned out to go over really well. That was sort of just was actually the 5th volume, but I think it's most people's first time hearing that little thing that we did. And I believe it's actually your first appearance besides bloopers on it. You did a review of Hangman, I did a review of The Witch, and then me and you and Brandon did that Critique the Critics, and me and Kyle did a review of Cabin Fever 2016. with a bunch of
No,
other randomness.
I actually think I was on the first mini shots because
Oh,
remember
it was the baby,
it was the baby.
which
Remember,
actually was a lost segment for a other show called A Double Shot of Horror that me and you recorded.
That's right. Yeah, we were supposed to record this podcast, or yeah, that episode for your show, and it fell through. The other guest didn't show up, so we just said, whatever. Anyways, you were being sneaky, and you decided that you were going to record our conversation. It turned out that we just like talked about it, and you just put it into the. It's kind of a cool idea, actually. It was kind of natural.
Yeah, which always happened before we started podcasting when we used to do these late night Skype chats, and before that we was using like Tiny Chat. And we would just start talking about a movie that we had both seen, and we'd essentially review it to nobody, right? so like then we was like, why don't we start recording these, and the whole podcast came about. But that mini shots was really fun. I had a blast putting it together. You contributed with some of your own personal music that you created over the years, and we blended it in with some other music, and it turned out really good, I thought. And I thought that all of the reviews and stuff were really good as well.
Yeah, I had a blast listening to that, man. Yeah, it went together really well, like all these different types of musics and different reviews, and you did like your fake commercials, and like there was just a lot of really cool things. The 2 hours went by really quick. It flew by for me, so that was really cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then we did upload the Exploding Heads featuring or 22 shots featuring exploding heads. Let me get that right.
Yeah, exactly.
The top 10 of 2002, which took so much preparation. And with that, I thought the show turned out really good, much like our top 10 of 2015. And if you haven't heard it yet, definitely check it out, guys, listening to this.
Yeah, if I ended up uploading to my channel like a few days after. So I know people were asking me, they kept messaging me and stuff like, where's the podcast? And I'm like, guys, you can check it out on Horphilia. It's not just on my channel. So, but that was the reason why I was on vacation. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. That's the interesting thing about our show in particular versus other podcasts is we really have like two separate entities of viewers. We get, a certain amount of downloads on Horphilia and iTunes, but then we get an equal or greater or sometimes lesser amount on your channel, which is insane when you think about it. And you put those two big numbers together and you have mega numbers. It's awesome, really. And I feel like a lot of the people that watch on your channel aren't necessarily the people that are in the group page and stuff like that. So it really feels like we have multiple sections of listeners.
I think those are the type of people too that are not dropping down that description box and reading the the description and the links, because or maybe they are, I don't know, but I would rather people, if they want to click on or whatever, head over to Horphilia and download the show, or whatever. So
yeah, absolutely.
Click those links.
You can do it on your phone as well. You can download it straight to your phone from the Horphilia website. Another thing that we did, Moodz, is we announced that our next top 10 show is going to be 1996, which is such a bizarre year. We previewed that year, so be on the lookout for that. It'll be a long time down the road, but I'm pretty sure we're going to try to get the Exploding Heads guys back. People seem to like when we all come together for these mega shows and top 10 lists.
The Exploding Heads horror podcast, the second most popular podcast on Horphilia behind the 22 shots of Moodz and horror.
Yeah, but they kind of beat us last time.
Yeah, I don't read the number. I'm just not reading the numbers like that.
Oh yeah. Obviously. Well, you know what happened, right?
Yeah. Well, whatever, man.
We got a bump.
4 shows. Yeah, we had 4 shows in the top 10. They're only doing 2. Whatever, man. I'm just,
yeah,
we're doubling them, man.
So besides that, we did do one other thing that I want to plug right now, because it's an experiment, and that is the Disturbing Cinema podcast, which you and Kyle did, where we completely dissected the film Martyrs. And this is a test run, guys, so if you haven't heard it, please do. And feedback is crucial for the potential future of that show. If you want us to keep going with it, you definitely need to listen to it, because we're going to judge it by the numbers and the reaction to it.
And by the time you guys hear this podcast, the Disturbing Disturbing Cinema podcast will be up on my channel. Like, you'll be able to check it out there, and of course Horrorphilia too. So be on the lookout in those places for it. Definitely check it out. It's a really, really good episode. I think all three of us were very proud of how we dissected that and discussed Martyrs. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I thought it turned out great, and I would love. We have so many other films that we would like to do, but if nobody's gonna listen to it, then we're just gonna not do it. So listen to it, damn it.
I mean, I thought we did such a good job on the episode that, it's even kind of deferred me from watching the remake. Like, I really try to focus on when the new year starts. I try to watch as many films from the present year, just in preparation for the year end show and stuff like that. And I've watched to now like 14, and I have Martyrs sitting like right here, and I just can't bring myself to watch it because I don't want to have, what we just dissected it so much, and it's still so fresh in my mind that I really I want to be fully disconnected from that, before I sit down and watch the remake, because I don't want anything to influence. I just want to kind of go in with a clear head. I can disassociate myself with the original material a lot, but in this case, I'm finding that I'm just dreading watching it. I don't feel like, personally I can give, 100% proper attention to the film and really kind of, take it for what it is right now. So I just feel like I need to mature a little more or something like that. It's kind of a weird thing. I know I'm taking this a little too far, and like, it probably shouldn't be thought about it, that hard. Shouldn't be putting that much thought into it. But at the same time, I just want to be true to myself. It's about, the viewing for myself. And I'm having a hard time with it. It's been sitting here, and I'm just like, I don't know.
I know exactly what you mean. And it's one of those films that, if the original Martyrs never existed, you would watch it and be like, oh, that was a pretty good movie. But because the original Martyrs does exist and you've seen it, it's so hard to disconnect it, because it is literally the same film with changes. It's so rough to try to review that and be unbiased, because you're going to be, no matter what, you're going to make those comparisons. So I just decided to say screw it, threw the unbiasedness out the window, and I reviewed it and I compared it to the original, which might be a bad thing, but it was impossible not to do. Much like the Cabin Fever remake, I do think Cabin Fever remake is a better remake because it's more fun. Martyrs is just it's just the same movie but not as good, and that's much like Cabin Fever, but at least Cabin Fever actually improved on certain aspects, which is pretty crazy to say. But it like improved all the minor flaws that the original Cabin Fever had, but because it improved minor flaws, you still have these mega flaws that are just there because it's a lesser film. It's kind of a weird one to review as well. These direct remake things are hard to review.
Yeah. I'm still blown away that this Cabin Fever remake exists right now. I don't know why.
Because
I'm so blown away.
Just came out it's literally came out since we've been doing this podcast, like, which isn't very long.
Well, yeah, I guess, right? So Cabin Fever 3 came out in the remake since we've been doing this. Yeah. I don't know. It seems to me it's one of those films I'm just like, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it is because Cabin Fever 3 just came out and I'm like, really? Like, we need a remake already? But I think also is because when part 3 came out, they announced that it was in the works, like right after that release, right? Like, it was so close after, and I'm like, they just released part 3. They're going to make a remake. And then we find out that it's basically a shot for shot remake. I don't know. I've never been able to fully wrap my head around this, but I don't know. I'll eventually check it out. It seems like this year there's a lot of remakes. I'm sure you'll get to it before the end of the year and we do our top 10 of 2016. But another thing that I did want to mention, Moodz, is I forgot to mention this in previous episodes, but we put a challenge out a while back about iTunes reviews. And I do think we ended up hitting the 10 reviews before the cutoff date. So we're going to have some sort of contest. I believe it was the Class of Nukem High or Return to Nukem High Volume 1 or 2. Like, I forget what you said we'd give away, but we're probably going to have to give that away now. So everybody who left an iTunes review, will put your name in a hat, and at a future episode we'll pick the winner, and then we'll figure out how we're going to do the prize. So stay tuned for that. And we'll also fully figure out the prize too. I could give away Class of Nukem High Part 2, but then again, if you don't own Part 1, it's like well, I have part 2 now.
Yeah.
You know, I put this person in a compromising position. Now they have to go either import the UK Blu-ray or look for the region one out of print trauma DVD that doesn't look as good. And I feel like I'm just doing this person dishonored. Like I feel like I'm putting them in, you know, in a very compromising position if I do that. So the point is, it's going to be something cool. Don't worry about it.
Okay, yeah, so don't worry about it, guys. One of you are going to win something. And, you know, besides that, I kind of wanted to throw this out there, and I didn't talk to you before the show about this, but I do feel, because today, those of you who don't know, haven't read the title, which is nobody, we're doing what we watched volume 3?
Volume 3.
Yeah. The last time we did this was episode 43, which...
Episode 43, wow.
Yeah, which was quite a while ago. So I was looking at something else that we did back then. Episode 40, Viewer's Choice Volume 2.
Mm-hmm.
You think it's time to do another one?
Yes, I do think so. I mean, the original idea behind Viewer's Choice was we were going to do one every 20 episodes, but we didn't really think this through completely, considering how the math works. I think the first one came on episode 20, then the second one was episode 40. And if you know your math table and you by 20s, you're eventually going to hit episode 100. Do we really want that as episode 100? Probably not.
Well, it would have been the easy way out. Like, we would have just been like, well, guys, we got to do it. I mean, that was the original plan. And then we wouldn't have had to think of anything cool. So it might have been worth it. But so basically, we do want to do another Viewer's Choice because Moodz just agreed to it. So how that worked, those of you who are like sort of new to the show, which there are people that constantly tell me like, well, I just started going through the back catalog, I started listening at episode 60, and I'm like, whoa. So which is a bad episode to start, by the way. The Demon Show was episode 60. But anyway, basically you guys suggest films that you want us to talk about, and then there's like I'll compile them, and then there'll be a vote, and then we'll pick 3 films to review in the Viewer's Choice show volume 3. So if you have any suggestions when this episode posts,
lots of places to leave the comments, man. You can leave them on Horphilia, you can leave them on my channel, the podcast, or the Facebook page. Lots of places. We'll get them.
Yeah, we'll get them, hopefully. So my favorite place for you to leave them is in the comments of the Facebook pinned post of this episode. So we will do another Viewer's Choice sometime down the road. So get those titles suggestions in. Also, I think there was one other thing that I wanted to mention, but I kind of forgot about it. Oh yeah, episode 100. I think it's time to start brainstorming on what we want to do. Because episode 50,
there's been some pretty good there's been some pretty good ideas thrown at us for that episode. You know, the one that's been repeated over and over again is like top 100 not favorite films of all time, like the top 100 horror films of all time. That's tough.
It is tough.
It's really, really tough, man. It's really tough. And, you know, like we always say, lists are all subjective and, you know, just based on opinion and things like that. So, but, you know, it would be fun to do. It would be very hard considering how I think that we put in a lot of time for episode 50.
And then,
you know, and compiling
another 50.
Exactly.
It'd be like two.
Basically what we would be doing is doubling our work. Probably even tripling it, because you really like the best horror film. We're not talking about our favorites. That's an easy list to do. I can put together 100 lists because it changes all the time. I can be like, here's my 100 favorite horror films right now. But if you're talking about the best, those are 2 different lists. That's a thing that people don't understand about lists, is sometimes they're just, these are my favorites. This isn't a bona fide list. But if you're making a bona fide top 100 list, holy fuck.
I think that it would be possible. Man. It does a little bit of sort of becomes problematic is the fact that the show is now compiled of 2 people instead of the third, which made the 50 show a little bit easier, because when we had a split, then the third person would pick, and it would be, you know, majority rules. The only thing that I could think is if we brought in some of the guests, if we have a split, some of the people we had on the show, like Kyle and Dave and Brandon and Matt and even Steve, because I feel like those guys are like official members of the 22 Shots universe now, or whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
So I mean, it would be, I mean, if you guys are absolutely nuts about us doing it, then it might be something that we would be like sort of forced and would, I guess, choose to do. But if there's any other ideas you have, please share them. Like, it's crucial. Like, the
Most
reason
definitely.
the episode 50 happened, which is arguably one of our best episodes, and arguably, in terms of downloads and views and stuff, our most
I'm
viewed
still
episode.
I'm still really shocked about episode 50 and the amount of, like, negativity that didn't come towards us from that
Yeah,
episode.
yeah,
There was the odd comment that was like, "Oh, how can you guys do a top 50 episode when you haven't seen The Omen?" And I think that was referring to, I don't know
me.
which one of you guys hadn't seen that. Was it you?
Yeah.
But I mean, things like that. But I was really surprised at how much positivity came from that episode. I was like, wow, like, it was just amazing that more people were like, "Oh, where's this? Where's that? This should have been higher. This should have been lower." Like just the typical type comments. But it was a lot of really good feedback. So that's good for,
Yeah, that makes me
when we
feel
have to move
good.
on
Yeah,
to
and
bigger episodes. Like, say, if we're doing a top 100 for 100, that's good. That's good motivation.
yeah.
So
So yeah, the episode 50 turned out really great, and that was actually suggested by one of you. I'm not exactly sure who suggested it,
I
but
think honestly it was it Lewis?
I don't
I,
think it was Lewis.
nah, he's not that smart. Um,
You know, I think it might have been, and I always am afraid to say this person's name.
I,
Uh, Sasa, the chick,
oh,
or like one Asian listener.
yeah, it could have been actually. That's a good guess. That's a
Yeah,
good guess.
I'm
But I mean,
not
regardless, it was a good
sure.
idea, and it was something that we rolled with, and that's what we like to.
And it turned out so good. That's really one of my proudest episodes because we worked hard on that too, and
We put a lot of time into that episode, man. It was ridiculous.
yeah, like so
Yeah.
much time that Jeremy was literally like complaining, like where he'd just be like, we'd get
Well,
stuck on
complaining,
something, and
complaining
he'd be like,
more than
"Come
usual.
on, just pick a fucking whatever."
Yeah. Good size.
Yeah,
Good
but that
size.
was
Yeah.
really fun to do, and I could see us doing it for 100 films. I feel like we would. I honestly feel like we would be able to pull it off. But let's just see what the listeners say.
I think we should make episode 100 like, straight up gang related, man. Like, we get all the homies in there, from all ends of the country and stuff. We got like Matt, Kyle, we got Exploding Head. Like, we have this freaking just circle of love, and
Yeah,
we do whatever the topic or whatever the show is going to be, but just have a lot of different voices and opinion. I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be really cool to just kind of have this, like, just this huge collaboration type deal. I think it'd be kind of cool.
yeah, that could definitely be cool. Yeah, I mean, 100 is not far from
He's
now.
still trying to take that one in. He's like, yeah, I think I
Well,
could.
I
You're
was
trying
just
to think
thinking
around
how
like,
like
oh,
the
fuck, Keith.
schedule, like scheduling, and I was just like, it just went into full blown panic mode because we have such a hard time. But
We do know that, like, well, with a few of the guys, like, Matt and the Exploding Heads guys and stuff, we've done things on Thursdays. So if Kyle can't make it, well, whatever. Fuck
yeah,
Kyle.
yeah,
No, I'm
fuck
just joking.
Kyle. Um,
But no, you know what I'm saying. But I think it'd be kind of cool to just have like a huge you know group on that
yeah,
episode. I think
yeah. I mean, it's like the biggest, anniversary. That's like probably the biggest milestone you could come up with. Like, because 250, like, yeah, it's a milestone, but nothing's as big as that 100.
yeah. And people out there are probably thinking, well, what the fuck are you guys talking about this for? It's like episode 75 right now. Well, we thought that episode 50 was so far away when we first kind of brought it up in like episode 30. We're like, oh fuck, we got forever, and all of a sudden it was
And it
like,
just freaking creeped
holy
on. It just
shit.
came so fast on us, and we were
All of
like,
a sudden it
"Holy
was like
hell."
episode 36 and it was 41, and we're like, holy fuck, like we really, really need to crack down and get this shit done. So yeah, it's only 25 episodes away. So
Yeah.
yeah, who knows? I mean, I don't know. It could be later than sooner. It could be sooner than later. I don't know.
Yep.
Don't know. But yeah. You got anything else?
Nope, that was it.
You got that's it. That's everything. Okay, cool. Alrighty. So, do we got some news? Do we got some
Yeah,
news?
yeah. It's
You know,
been
I've been away. I've been away so long, and like I really like honestly, when I was on vacation, I really was not even reading things, and like there must be like some things that I definitely missed. So, I'm kind of excited for this.
yeah. Well, the thing is, I honestly didn't pick much news from like the past anything before like last week. And it's just because there was so much different things that happened. And honestly, when we were taking a break, I kind of was avoiding news altogether just because it was a nice, like, refreshing, like, vacation for me to not have to, like, dig through this stuff. So I just kind of, I seen some things here and there, but for the most
Yeah,
part,
I
I
hear
just took
that.
stuff this last week. So first up here, we have just a little announcement for an acquisition. It is called Telltale Heart, and it is starring Rose McGowan, and it is, I guess, a adaptation of Edgar Allan Poe's classic short story, Telltale Heart. And I
I
just
love
thought
that
it was
story.
kind of an interesting casting with Rose McGowan. You know, of course, she was in Scream and uh,
Planet Terror.
Grindhouse. Yeah,
I'm looking at it right now, man. That awesome, sexy machine gun as her leg.
yeah,
I'm like
yeah,
a poster right now. Oddly enough, my microphone's actually sitting on a huge Edgar Allan Poe book. I think I've mentioned that before, that I always just have it sitting right here. It's like
yeah.
inspiration. That makes no fucking sense. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about anymore. But
But yeah, Alchemy, the company that will be in the news a little later, just announced that they have the home video rights to Telltale Heart, and it's gonna hit DVD and VOD April 5th of 2016. So yeah,
cool.
and now back to Alchemy. Alchemy is a company that I wasn't too familiar with, but apparently they're running into some financial woes, and one of the films that they picked up was Rob Zombie's 31. And earlier this week, we found out that Rob Zombie kind of announced that the film's been delayed. I didn't even know if it had a release date before it got delayed, but he said it was delayed. And uh, he was switching distributors, or whatever you want to call it. And instantly the one thing that I thought of was, oh well, when the Green Inferno went under, the company that was putting out the Green Inferno, when they went under, it became like a huge legal thing, and then it took like an entire year for the Green Inferno to finally find its home at
It's
Blumhouse.
all
And I
that
was,
paperwork and shit, right?
yeah, and
Oh,
even Rob Zombie said that in his little
yeah,
press release that it's a lot of lawyers and paperwork and
yeah,
stuff, so
yeah.
it's going to take a while to figure out what's going on. And then today it turns out that Rob Zombie's 31 is going to be released. It's going to have its world premiere, which is a little different than being released. I've seen a lot of news sites reporting like released, released, and everybody thinks that that means like, oh, I'm going to be able to see it. Well, not the average person, because it's getting its world premiere September 16th, which is at Sundance. So, but that has to be a good sign that it's going to be released like sooner with North American rights,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, at least this thing's getting released though.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I'm not sure exactly what's gonna happen, like who's gonna put out like is it gonna have a like big theatrical run, or like what is it gonna be more like Lords of Salem?
I don't. Well, I mean, it's playing in festivals right now. Um, I mean, it obviously is. I actually had somebody message me the other day, which I haven't responded to him, but I did read it, and he said that he actually saw a screening of 31. He didn't say anything about it, but he said that he's looking forward to, the unrated version, or the different version, or whatever, that's being released on DVD. I'm like, how is, if you're seeing that in a, in the festivals and stuff, wouldn't it be the unrated version? Like, most likely.
Yeah.
You
Hmm.
would think so, and then maybe just cut it down for theater. I don't know. I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting, but regardless, I really don't understand why, other companies aren't jumping at this. I mean, it's Rob Zombie's. Don't his films do pretty good?
Yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure they have all done fairly well, I would
I would
assume.
actually, I would actually like to know how many, companies, if there was like a bidding war for it and things like that, like the whole behind the scenes with that, because it just seems like it's a film that, if I was running, say even Scream Factory, I mean, they've got this deal with IFC. They release a lot of contemporary films and things like that. Not just IFC. I mean, they've released obviously The Battery and a couple other films that, are just pickups, right? And why, like, do you think that they even went after or even tried to, or what the deal? Like, do you ever even kind of think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I do a little bit. I don't. I always wonder
Because you
how
think that
it
these
all
bigger
works in
companies
general. I
would work. I mean, like, obviously if he has this film and, like, why would you shop around to these smaller type companies and things like that, where just isn't it about the money at the end of the day? Really?
yeah.
These bigger companies, do you think they'd just be able to, do you think they jump all over it? I don't know. Rob Zombie's career is just so fascinating to me that he
Hmm.
just has so many problems with everything, it seems like. And I don't know. All I'm saying is if I had a company that was doing really well and, I heard that, Rob Zombie was making this film and it's, he's looking for distribution and stuff, well, like I'd be jumping all over that shit.
Well, maybe that's what happened. Maybe this alchemy company jumped all over it, and they spent way more than they could actually afford, and it kind of got them into some hot water.
They bankrupted themselves over
Yeah,
31.
because you have to look at it this way too. A film like 31 probably doesn't come cheap, and there's no guarantee, right? I mean,
No,
like
there's
we
never
don't
a
really
guarantee.
know what Lords even did. I assume that it sold well, but I have no freaking idea if it actually did. I
Yeah.
didn't see anything come out like Lords breaks records, or anything like that. So I mean, I'm sure it did well, but who knows how much they
But
actually
then again,
paid for it.
we don't see numbers on anything though. That's the thing about this weird kind of media industry and things. Like how many times we talked about, like, I would love to see what Scream Factory is actually selling. I want to see what Arrow's selling. I want to see what Synapse is selling, like for unit wise. It'd be really interesting to compare these companies and see what they're actually selling. And
Yeah,
even
well,
Code Red.
just
I want to see what the fuck Bill's actually selling. Like an actual real list.
I
And
don't
shit
know,
like
maybe
that.
like 1,000 copies over a month period.
It's
I
weird
bet
because I
it's not
just
that much, honestly. I mean,
like who's Scream Factory?
no, bit Code Red.
Oh, I don't fucking think he's selling that much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, I probably not, because look at the Tenebrae uh release. It's still not sold. Like look at those Demons still books. Like they still never sold out.
Because
So,
people are not paying 50 fucking, well, in my case it's $80.
okay, but
Fucking,
let's just do this for an example. Let's
it's just
say
too
that there was
much.
that they pressed up 6,000 copies and they sold them at regular price.
Yeah.
Maybe they probably still might not have sold the 6,000. I think honestly,
Mm,
because we're all fans and all we see is people picking up stuff, we're such a small group of people. Like I really don't think that these companies sell as much copies as some people like to believe. And we
mhm.
really won't know until we actually see some kind of numbers. But just today, for example, I seen somebody ask Scream Factory if they would release like Scanner Cop or something, since they released Scanners 2 and 3, and they said unfortunately Scanners 2 and 3 sold extremely poorly, so probably not. Which in
Oh, I
movies,
can't imagine why.
I can't, because those movies are awesome.
Those movies are fucking terrible.
Yeah,
That's literally like, oh my god. Every time I look at
dude,
that
they're
release in
fucking
my collection, I'm
X-Men.
just
If you watch it like, oh, this is an X-Men movie. This is like
yeah,
the
they're
X-Men. They're fucking
so
awesome.
boring though. They're
Get
so
out of here.
boring.
Um,
They're so
but
boring.
anyway, that's beside the point. I know what you mean with the sales and stuff. I honestly have no freaking idea uh,
Yeah, I know.
how this stuff
It
works.
I think about it actually probably more than I should, and I'm just like, what the like? I wonder what these companies are actually doing because, you know, I mean, with Scream Factory, I mean, you really have to sell, probably a decent amount of things to keep putting out what they're doing. Like their output of films is beyond ridiculous. I mean, if you looked at their Summer of Fear lineup, for like May, June, and July or whatever, I think in June they
It
have
was like eight. Yeah.
eight or nine that are coming out. So in the 3 months, there's one kind of slower month, but it does make up for in the next month and then the next month after that. Like there's like 15 or 18 movies that are coming out. I'm like, holy fuck! Like you look at some of these other companies, like I mean, Arrow does put out stuff quite frequently too, but I think they might be doing really well. But you look at other companies like Synapse and just whatever. No one's putting out that many films at one time. So I'm thinking Scream Factory. I mean, I guess they have their. I mean, it's Shout Factory, right?
Mhm.
So as one company, but man, their output is insane.
Well, look at this for some reason. Like Cult
It really,
Epics, right?
yeah,
They released that Necromantic that was limited. That special cover or whatever was limited to what, 1,000, something like that. Was it
yeah.
1,000?
To which one?
Necromantic.
I think it was. Oh, wasn't it 5,000?
Okay, was it 5,000?
I think it was. Yeah.
It was something, and then they bumped it up. Okay, 10,000 copies. Those
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
are not sold.
Hmm.
I've not seen
Hmm.
one person not get the special edition. So they have not sold 10,000 copies in a year.
I mean, just put it this way, though, man. Like, I mean, the company that's got to be leading in sales right now has to be Arrow. I mean, these
I don't
editions that
think
they're.
so. I
You
think
don't
Scream
think?
Factory leads for sure because Scream Factories are in Walmart.
Well, they all, but it's. I mean, in the amount that they're actually putting out, may be. But I'm just saying that if you look at Arrow's releases, like
Let me tell you something, dude. I don't
recently,
know a
deeper.
single
Okay, deeper.
person in life who owns an Arrow in real life. Not a single person.
Well, okay, just let me say this. Okay, Deep Red, among look at the Necromantic 1 and 2, like all those limited edition deals, like Society and things. Those are all gone. They're all out of print. Every one of them. Those are
Yeah,
limited to
but
like
there was
3,000.
only yeah, but there was only like 3,000 of
Well,
those.
pretty much all those were 3,000, right? But I'm just saying, all of those are gone.
How many were there though? Like five?
They have tons of limited stuff, like 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 Hellgate, that was limited to a few thousand, that was limited to like 3,000 or whatever, that was gone. They have lots of releases that are limited to 3,000, 5,000 copies or whatever that are gone. Like,
Mhm.
it's crazy. It's actually crazy. But if you start adding that up, they are selling quite a bit. It's
Yeah.
fucking insane. It really is insane. I mean, there's a few things that are limited from Arrow,
I
but
I
more
just
expensive.
think
But
that if
I think they're selling well.
I don't I think they're selling well, but honestly, I think if Arrow was really selling really good, they would be able to sell at a lower price. I really do. I think that they would be able to sell it at $20 a pop because they eventually all drop down to that anyway, but they always start at like 30, 35.
Yeah, I mean,
And I don't know.
that's also that's
I
the
would
market here
honestly
in
think
North
that
America, though.
Scream Factory seriously probably sells more than maybe Arrow is a close competition, but I don't know. I feel like just judging by the amount of like feedback I see on their posts and their likes and stuff like that, it just seems like Scream Factory, and they're like the freaking mainstream one, right? They're more mainstream than any of the other releasing companies. Like they're in fucking Walmart, which is
Well, yeah, yeah, and also Screen Factory is also a North American company. I mean, Arrow does have a North American deal now, but for the most part, I mean, most of the releases are region two, so of course, Screen Factory is probably going to outdo them for the American releases. I mean, Arrow hasn't
Oh, you know
released
what? I was
overly
actually
that many
only thinking
releases.
of US when we were talking about this for some reason.
Yeah,
I didn't even
like I'm
consider
thinking like Arrow
US.
UK,
So
man.
yeah, maybe if you combine with UK, then yeah,
Well,
Arrow probably is
it's
a
the
lot
same company.
bigger.
It's just their American branch, right? But I'm just saying, like, overall, like, Arrow is really, really selling a lot. I mean, look at all these limited things, man. If you're not jumping on them right away, they're gone. I mean, fucking.
Yeah, but is 2,000 units a lot? Is
Well, no,
3,000 units a lot? Like that's the problem is we don't know.
but do you
What if
think? But
Scream Factory is selling 15,000 units of anything they release on the low end and like 25 on average? You know what I
but do you
mean?
think? But do you think they sold like 4,000 copies of like Hellions?
I do.
Probably
I think
not.
they sold probably about 15,000 copies of Hellions because it's in Walmart.
Yeah, it's in Walmart, but I mean,
Dude,
but that's the thing.
listen.
I
My
just don't
Walmart
know.
alone, right? There's when they stack the Hellions on the rack, right? There's
Are the IFC
15
title? Are the IFC
copies.
titles? Are the IFC titles like, because my WalMarts they don't get Screen Factories, but
Every
are
IFC title
are
is in Walmart.
are how cheap are they
About $15, I think.
for the Blu-rays? That's not
No,
bad.
there's not. They don't have Blu-rays ever. It's only the DVDs.
Oh, so they only pack the DVDs in there.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
so
here's an example. I go to Walmart every day, twice a day when I go to work. I go in the morning, grab a Monster, and poke around, and then I go after work and get like whatever we need for the house. Uh, I
And then another
see the
monster.
rack go yeah, and another monster. I see the rack deplete and restock all the time, and I pay attention to the ones that I care about. Uh,
Huh.
for example, Night Gallery, they had it for $15 season one. It was gone in the week, and they still haven't replaced them, and I was
Okay.
pissed.
Okay.
So a title like Hellions, I see every day. Oh, two more is gone. Two more is gone.
Yeah.
And usually,
I mean,
between
it
15
does
and
make sense. The
20.
price is right, though. The price is right. What do you think about the other Scream Factory titles? Like, what do you figure like disturbing behavior sold?
Well,
Be considering it's
if
not
I
in
honestly
Walmart,
had
it's
to
not an
guess,
IFC title.
if I
It's not an
honestly had to take a guess of like what a title like Disturbing Behavior would sell like week one of release, um, I would have to like, am I factoring in like each store that stocks them? Like it is like all the online stores, like how many they stock of that? I don't know.
who actually
Maybe
stocks Scream Factory like in physical stores.
like FYEs and so not many like Barnes and Nobles FYEs like they all stock Scream Factories.
The only place I know that can get them where I can buy a physical copy like is HMV. But I mean, the prices are so ridiculous. They're so ridiculous. I mean, regular, collector's editions are like $30 and or 25, kind of thing, $26 and stuff, and nothing's under 20.
Yeah.
Expensive.
Yeah, well,
So
I mean, Factory is a subsidiary of Shout Factory as well, and I know Shout Factory is a giant in they're probably number one in home video.
oh god, yeah. Man, some of the stuff that Shell Factory's released, man, like over the years, like I was actually just looking at a lot of like their catalog. Man, they've released a lot of stuff I didn't even realize that they had released, like for TV series and like really cool stuff. I mean, everything, even from the Beetlejuice box set, like they've released some really cool
Yeah,
shit.
all that '90s Nickelodeon stuff. But
Yeah, like
anyway,
major cool stuff. Yeah.
but my major point here is, yeah, I mean, I don't think we can really know until we see even an example of a number. If Scream Factory or Arrow would come out and say like, or Synapse and say like, here's three titles that were released in the last 2 years. Here's how much they sold, and if they give us an example. One, let's say Pumpkinhead from Scream Factory. If they're like Pumpkinhead sold 15,000 units, that would give us an idea right away, and
Hmm.
we'd be able to map stuff like, well, if Pumpkinhead had only sold 15,000, I bet you that something like Disturbing Behavior would probably sell about 7 or 8,000.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's
But
fucked up,
I
man.
don't know if that's even close to the numbers. Maybe it's 100,000 for Pumpkinhead, and maybe you don't know until you actually just get an example of what they're selling, and it
Hmm. Hmm.
frustrates me because these companies obviously keep that information private for good reasons sometimes, and for sometimes I don't know why. But I know one thing for sure, and I try to explain this to people all the time. Companies do what sells. So if Scream Factory is putting out stuff like Hellions and all these IFCs, it's because they're selling in Walmart. And if they're putting out stuff like um, Army of Darkness, which by the way, I last time I read was one of the number one sellers for Scream Factory last year. Uh, which fuck, I already own Army of Darkness, and I didn't even get excited for that release at all. But it sells. So
Yeah, that was literally about like the eighth or ninth copy I have. I swear to God. I don't even fucking get it. What
so
the fuck?
the thing
So
is, if you have those films, and as long as those films justify them doing a double feature of
yeah, yeah.
what Witch House and Witchery, or Ghost House and Witchery or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
then fuck it. Let them do it. I'm not
Hmm.
gonna like it. I'm not gonna be happy about another Army of Darkness, but maybe I'll check out and find something new I like in the special features, because I do buy all that gay shit. Um, anyway, back to the freaking news,
Oh,
right?
is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Oh fuck, man! I thought we were in like knowledge or something like that. I didn't even know what segment we were doing.
Yeah, we do that.
Just fucking around.
Shane Black, who is directing the new Predator film, got to talking to Bloody Disgusting. And actually, I don't think the interview originally came from Bloody Disgusting, so scratch that. But apparently, the idea, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the idea is that this is going to be actually a big budget Predator film. It's, a lot of these studios now are looking at stuff that Marvel has done with their universe, including horror films. And I think that the people who are making horror films are now like, we need to create these universes. We've seen it with Universal, what they want to do with their upcoming monsters, Universal monster films. They want to create a giant universe. We've seen it with the stuff like the Avengers, and then we've seen it with like Batman and Superman, and now it seems like it's sort of going into the horror world a little bit. So they want to put a little bit of money into this Predators, actually. And one thing that I hate is that it's called, the title as of right now is The Predator. Jesus, man.
Well, it could be word. It could be Predator Origins. Or the curse,
that better,
or the curse, the curse of the Predator.
But so this one actually is being written by Fred Decker, of course, the writer of the Monster Squad.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty cool that he's going to be doing that. So that's going to have a March 2nd, 2018 release date. So 2 years from now. So we'll see another Predator film. After that, Jeepers Creepers 3. Is supposed to begin filming in Vancouver next month.
Baby.
And we believe that Gina Phillip... What?
Wait a minute. How the fuck did Canada let fucking Victor Salva into the country? Jesus Christ. That's fucked up. Okay, it takes 9 weeks for me to get a fucking aero package because the customs has to rip apart every single package, but they're just letting Victor Salva walk into our country? Here you go. And let me... Jesus, what the fuck is going on here? Okay, Continue.
Okay, so Gina Phillips, who was, of course, in the original one, is supposed to be reprising her role as Trish, which I think is cool. Continuity is always a good thing. And also, the Creeper van is supposed to have a big part in this one, which is good to me because I thought that was pretty creepy, as well as Jonathan Breck is coming back to play the Creeper. And Brandon Smith is going to return as Sergeant Davis Tubbs. So that's cool, man. I mean, it's supposed to be set on the 23rd day, of course, which is the last day of the Creeper's feeding frenzy, and all the crazy shit's supposed to happen. I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I know we've had these discussions about Victor Salva and whether it's right or wrong for him to be able to direct films, and if we should disassociate the director between the actual work and all that. I mean, it's a conversation I've had before, and it's a conversation that honestly could deserve its own podcast. But
yeah,
I'm excited for Jeepers Creepers 3 because I love the first two. I know, Moodz, you're not super crazy about the second one, but I love the second one as well.
I don't mind the second one, man. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I really do like the first one, man. It's great.
Yeah.
It's great
Another
stuff,
thing that I know you love is Annabelle. Turns out there's a sequel coming out May 19th, 2017.
Yeah, I fucking love that movie, man. It's great.
Yeah, so Annabelle is coming out in 2017, May 19th, courtesy of New Line Cinema, which also this year, The Conjuring 2 is supposed to hit June 10th, which I'm actually pretty looking forward to since I've like reinvented myself as a theater goer. As of late.
Yeah, I noticed. Yeah, all those movies you've been going to in the theater, man. It's crazy.
So, New Line, listen to this bullshit, right? 2013, The Conjuring made over 300 million worldwide. And then the very next year, I believe, the Annabelle, which was a spinoff, drew nearly 250 million in box office revenue. How crazy is that?
Wow. And sold 14 copies of Blu-rays. It's really fucking weird.
So after that, we have something here that this happened a few weeks ago, but I did want to cover it because it's kind of related to today's news. So Hellraiser. This is a franchise that started off with a bang with Clive Barker's original Hellraiser based on the Hellbound Heart, which I've actually just listened to first part of the audiobook the other day, so that's pretty cool. This film went on to create a sequel, which Clive Barker wrote, and then he kind of was there for part 3 as a producer, and it turned into more of a slasher. The rights then shifted to Dimension, and they came out with part 4, which from what I understand was a complete and utter mess while it was filming, and
Hmm.
supposedly there's a drastically different work print cut out there, similar to like that of Halloween 6. Shocking, also Dimension produced. And then they decided to, after the bombing of Hellraiser 4, they decided, well, let's not really try to do these theatrical anymore. Let's make it a video series. And they're like, well, shit, we got to make another Hellraiser movie. And they decide to buy a hot script in town and pepper in some Pinhead. And there you have Hellraiser 5, 6, 7, and 8, I believe. Flash forward to about 2010, 2011, I think it was. Dimension decided to relaunch their Dimension Extreme label with 2 new films, one being Hellraiser Revelations and the other being Children of the Corn Genesis. And those 2 films were, I believe, just $50,000 to $100,000 budget, filmed in like 6 days, I believe.
Wow, it was 6 days.
Yeah, and they were fastly pumped out because there's a little clause in the old contract that Dimension
Yeah.
has for both Hellraiser and Children of the Corn, which they picked
Yeah.
up, I believe, from the same company back in the day, where they have to produce a sequel every, I guess it would probably be about 5 years, huh? When did
Uh,
Hellraiser Revelations come out? 2011?
yeah. I'm trying to remember because I actually remember reading and talking about that
Yeah,
too.
so
About they have to make a
2011.
movie,
Yeah, 2011 Hellraiser
so it makes
Revelations
sense.
came out. Came
Makes
out.
sense.
So yeah, so probably every 5 years we should expect to see a new Hellraiser. And what happened was Dimension, back in 2009-ish, was planning a Hellraiser remake. It never came to fruition, so they ran out of time, and they had to pump out Hellraiser Revelations to retain the rights. And that happened again, guys, because we got announced Hellraiser Judgment, which is, I believe, has already wrapped filming, and it's based in, they can't even lie this time, because before, you could say that, well, like, even though everybody assumes that those scripts for Hellraiser 5, 6, 7, and 8 were other scripts turned into Hellraiser films, I don't know if there's ever concrete proof of that. I don't know if anybody ever said it, or if there's anything happened to where there's proof of it. But this one, Hellraiser Judgment, is actually, I believe, coming from a project that had a Kickstarter a few years ago called Judgement. It was a film that was being made called Judgment, and the Kickstarter failed. So I believe what happened is this turned into a Hellraiser film. This Judgment film is now Hellraiser Judgment. And
Yes.
yeah, but it is it's weird, man. I don't know. I'm kind of intrigued just based on the Pinhead photo that came out, because Doug Bradley came out the other day and said that he wanted to see the script before he said if he would take the role or not. And they, of course, wouldn't allow him to see the script, which is that is a thing.
Fucking
I mean,
ignorant.
but it's not really. I mean, it's a thing. That's a thing
It's
in
Doug Bradley. Come
Hollywood.
on, you gotta show Doug
Uh,
Bradley. Who
yeah.
doesn't?
Well,
Like,
they
don't you want him for Pinhead? I mean,
I
I'd be
well,
like,
they
okay,
wanted
man,
to sign on before they showed him the script.
Well, of course, because it probably sucks, but
Yeah,
I understand that. But yeah, I mean, make an exception. It's fucking Doug Bradley. He's Pinhead. People associate Hellraiser with his character, with him. Um, I would be like, okay, man, here you go. Here's an email. you know, but
yeah.
I would. Why wouldn't you though, man? It's Pinhead, the Pinhead.
Um. So basically, I am one of the rare people who don't think that Hellraiser Revelations is the worst in the series. I would say Hellworld is, because at least Revelations was a Hellraiser movie. It had
Mhm.
an awful Pinhead that looked ridiculous and silly, but it actually was more of a Hellraiser movie than any of the previous sequels, because it actually like was about the stuff that happened in the first Hellraiser and the second one, like very similar, like people coming back from hell and not having skin and shit. Hopefully that this one won't be. I mean, we're all expecting it to be awful, but let's just hope that it's like average at best, right? I mean, even if it's average modes, if Hellraiser Judgment comes out and it's average, do you consider that a success?
Fuck yeah. I really do, man.
Yeah,
It's funny because when we were doing the 2002 show, well, I think most of us watched. Is it Hellseeker?
yeah,
Is that the one that we watched? Yeah, Hellseeker again. And of course, I hadn't seen it in years, and I just always kind of, I really do write off like all the later sequels in the Hellraiser series in my mind. I'm just like, oh, they're terrible, blah blah blah. And then upon rewatching the film, I'm like, as a movie, it's not that bad.
yeah,
It's
and they're
actually not
kind
that
of
bad.
all like that, honestly. So when we eventually do our Hellraiser show, but hell, now we're probably gonna have to wait for Hellraiser 10
Yeah,
to really
exactly.
do it. Which shame on us for not doing it sooner. It just makes more work for us. But anyway, you'll find out that some of them are actually kind of watchable as standalone films. Anyway, Hellraiser X or Hellraiser 10 Judgment or Hellraiser Judgment. One of the interesting things is how this came about was Heather Langenkamp actually broke the news on this film when she said that she was involved in an upcoming Hellraiser film. So Heather Langenkamp, Nancy herself, coming into the Hellraiser world. Interesting. But going on,
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting too. Actually, it's kind of cool.
yeah, it definitely is. I mean,
I mean,
Kirsty gave
it's a
that.
good way of selling the film. I mean,
Yeah,
honestly, I was like, okay, I was expected that there was going to be another Hellraiser film because of the whole rights thing and stuff, and they announced it. I'm like, yep, and then I was like, Heather Langenkamp, really?
hmm
I mean, I know a lot of people were kind of joking about. They're like, who fucking cares what Heather Langenkamp? She's only known for doing, Nightmare on Elm Street, blah blah blah.
which is a damn shame because I've always thought that she was really good.
Yeah, I know, and she's a really nice person too. Like, I
Yeah.
think that she could have probably done a lot more, but yeah, it just kind of shocked me, and I was like, really associated with the Hellraiser series. I'm like, it's cool, man. It's a good selling point. It's a good
Yeah.
selling point. I think it got a lot of people's attention, so that's cool.
And piggybacking off of that, Moodz, we have Children of the Corn, The Runaway, which apparently
Fuck, I
is
laughed at
also
this.
in production in I forget where it's filming at, but something interesting about this one is apparently it's supposed to be a sequel to the remake, the 2009 remake, because if you remember when we did our Children of the Corn show,
Oh, is
which
that what
is now outdated, by the way.
I did write that. I totally posted that. I said, "Holy shit, our franchise show is already outdated. It's obsolete, man." So this is supposed to be a sequel to the remake?
Well, the only reason that I get that is apparently that somewhere in the press release it mentioned. Well, here's the synopsis. Runaway tells the story of a young woman named Ruth who finds herself pregnant after escaping a murderous child cult in a small Midwestern town. Ruth struggles to spare her son the horrors of her childhood while trying to outrun the past, which one of the things that I think that I was reading fans say online is that Ruth was the character of that had the baby with Malachi in the remake,
Yeah.
so that maybe she's like has her son now and she's like trying to get away from it or something. So maybe that's what it like. That's a connection. Other than that, uh, it'll probably be similar to a non-Children of the Corn film, meaning like Revelations or like Genesis, where like there's very little to do with Children of the Corn at all. There's like barely any corn, even.
Yeah. Like I said, like Revelations, man, like as a standalone film, you take out the Children of the Corn and just call it Revelations. It's not bad. It's okay.
Yeah,
Got
yeah,
good
yeah.
atmosphere.
And I know that
I know everyone seems to shit on that film. They're like, man, that movie fucking sucks. I'm like, yeah, as a Children of the Corn sequel, it's fucking terrible.
yeah,
It doesn't have any elements of Children of the Corn, really. I think there is a couple scenes with creepy kids and maybe like a corn on the cob or something like that. But but yeah, I can see where this is going. So
yeah, and
yeah.
um, John Gallagher is directing, who directed Feast 2, Feast 3, Piranha 3 Double D, and Zombie Night.
That's right. That's right. I know people were tripping balls. They're like, that's the fucking guy that butchered the sequel to Piranha. I was like, the fuck you mean, man? He had David Hasselhoff in there. That shit was funny as hell. I thought it was fun as hell, man. I don't even own that movie.
Yeah,
So
I don't
weird. I
either.
actually don't have it in my collection. It's so strange, but I thought it was actually kind of fun. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting director. I mean, all his films are
Well,
kind of
he's a
entertaining, not great.
Weinstein boy. All those
Exactly.
films
Well,
are
that's the thing.
Weinstein's.
He's an in-house director.
Yeah.
They have this company. They have their boy that sits around. And, well, here's a script. Okay, go direct it. He's just he's their boy toy. So
Yeah, it's filming in Oklahoma, I believe, as we speak. Uh, it's very weird that this is going to be sort of I wonder if that. Do you think that they'll resurrect their Dimension Extreme label again?
I don't know.
They should. They
They,
should.
they might. They might.
I honestly, there's some bad movies in there, but there are some hella good movies in that Dimension Extreme label.
Fucking rights there is, man. I mean, the original Feast movie is fun as hell, but I mean, you got Inside, and I don't know. There's a
Teeth.
bunch. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Teeth was actually
Storm
released by that.
Warning.
Storm Warning's great, man. That's a great.
Yeah,
Aussie
there's a
flick.
bunch of good ones. Black Sheep.
Black Sheep. Yeah, fuck yeah, man.
There was some good
Mutated
stuff
sheep.
in there, man. I mean, I
Listen,
think even
yeah.
Diary of the Dead was in there.
Diary of the Dead was, yeah, but then of course they got like Zombie
The
Diaries 1 and 2.
2.
Fuck, those are horrible.
But I'm down.
Yeah.
I'm down. Let's bring back the Dimension Extreme label. I think that.
Didn't you review that one cannibal film that was released by Dimension Extreme?
Welcome to the Jungle.
Welcome to the Jungle. Yeah.
Which is also pretty solid. It's not that bad. I mean, there's major problems with like the characters and stuff, but besides that, it actually
That's
has
right.
a pretty cool vibe.
It's kind of an interesting label when you really think about it, because they're all over the map. With like foreign films and just like
Yeah, well, what they were doing was really interesting at the time, is they were picking up foreign films that were kind of the stuff that you see in festivals now, and kind of giving it a home. They like the big films of the year where they were kind of doing, because this is back when the DVD boom was still, it was kind of phasing out, but it was still pretty successful. And
it's almost like they knew what they were doing, though, because that's the type of thing that gets my attention. It's like, look what they're putting out. That's pretty extreme. No, it's a terrible joke, but you know what I'm saying? It's like they're really kind of putting out things that there's no rhyme to the reason. It's just they're gathering all this kind of festival things, and that's a good idea.
And they're
putting
really them in Walmarts, which was one of the big things, is Dimension Extreme films were in Walmarts. I would love to see a return to that label, honestly. I think that we need something like that right now. But the final two things here for the news, I guess the producer or the director of the original Killer Clowns from Outer Space was on the Movie Crypt podcast with Adam Green and Joe Lynch, which I haven't heard this episode yet, but apparently some news
Neither have I.
out of it. Apparently the guy said that they're looking to do a potential sequel, and then they were like, well, we don't know if we could do a sequel or should we remake it. And I guess what they're kind of hoping to do is turn it into a TV show.
What?
Yes.
Are you fucking serious, man? Just fucking no. Just make a sequel to it, man. Whatever. I'd be happy with the sequel. Don't remake it. Don't do the same thing. Or you don't need to remake the film, but I'd be happy with the sequel either way.
Yeah.
But a TV show, really? Like, I just don't see how
it translates.
Yeah, honestly, man, I don't know, man. I guess there's a lot of
I just can't see that it would be successful on TV.
Yeah,
could you
I
see?
just
You
don't
know
think
how you hear people at
I don't
work
think
and
people
they're
would
like,
get it.
"Oh, did you catch Walking Dead last night?" Could you walk into work and imagine hearing like, "Oh, did you see Killer Clowns last night, man?"
That conversation's ridiculous, man.
I just can't see it happening. Like, cause I'll hear people.
Yo,
like,
man, he totally fucked this guy up with a bag of popcorn, man. Shot cotton candy right through his head.
Just the other day.
You just already hear it, man.
Just yesterday, I was at work and my boss was like, "Oh, poop! I missed Bates last night," and I'm like,
"You actually said poop?"
It's a her, and she was like, "Oh, poop! I missed Bates Motel last night." Well, she calls it Bates, and I was like,
if that was me, I would piss myself every time she said Bates.
Well, she does that a lot. She'll be like, "This is ridiculous." Like she
Oh, she's a shortener. She likes to shorten.
She likes to shorten her words a lot. It's funny. But anyway, a couple more things here. Code Red announced a huge bunch of amount of titles over the past, like stuff that I was interested in, but I'm not buying any of it, so I don't even know why I said that. Anyway, Scream Factory announced
Talk
Bad
about
Moon.
being stuck between a rock and a hard place, right?
I'm not buying them. Anything.
God,
I
they
will
really
never buy them.
suck.
Fuck it, dude.
Fucking
I don't
drives me
care. They'll
nuts.
lose the rights eventually. Just like the people that had them before, Shriek Show. When you look at stuff like House on the Edge of the Park, they lost the rights eventually. This guy will
Well,
too.
Shriek Show obviously, or Media Blasters is no more. The whole company folded.
Yeah, well, let's hope that happens to Bill.
Yeah, true that.
So after that, Scream Factory announced Bad Moon. They announced a bunch of other stuff over the past weeks, but I'm not going to go into it. Bad Moon's a cool title to pick up. I like that film a lot. Actually, it's in our 96. It's going to be one that we have to watch for 96.
Yeah, I was stoked about. I was actually happy for once. I was like, wow, it's a film that I want to upgrade.
Yeah,
because I only have that film in a 4-pack.
Yeah, me too.
And I was like, yeah, I don't know. So that's cool. I like the film though. Really did.
A little bonus news here that I just seen. The girl in the photographs is going to be released April 1st. It has a really cool poster actually, and it is the tagline here from Fangoria is brutal thriller that would make Wes Craven proud. Of course, Wes Craven produced this film, and it was directed by his protege. So this is sort of Wes Craven's last hand in filmmaking here. Yeah, a producer, but that's pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to that one. And one other thing, one last thing here, Moodz. I think it was last week. Apparently, Don Coscarelli said that his goal is to have all 5 Phantasm films on Blu-ray by the end of 2016.
That is fucking awesome.
Yeah, all 5.
And like, and when he like, when he says all 5, I'm thinking like
box set,
like, and I want, oh yeah, it's so awesome.
It would be a complete. I don't know how much money I would pay for that, but I bet it would be a lot.
Yeah,
which scares me because that means that they might. If I'm willing to pay a lot for it, then that means that they might sell it for a lot. If it's like the Sphere and they're like $150, like I'm gonna die.
Yeah,
I'm gonna cry probably.
Yeah.
If they're like Sphere, limited to 3,000 copies, $150 a pop, like I might actually have to take out a loan. Because like I would want it so bad.
Like, how do you explain that to the bank that you go in there like, so you need this loan for what? I don't get it. Like a Sphere full of movie? What the fuck are you talking about? It's ridiculous. There's just things we got to do, man. As collectors, you're like, I need this right now.
I
need this in my
do it
life.
for other things, but a Phantasm Sphere, man.
Yeah, I know.
So that wraps up the news, boys.
Alrighty, so getting into mood swings and the DVD and Blu-ray releases for March 29th of 2016. And yeah, I know we've been away for, the last few weeks, but man, there's been a lot of good stuff that's come out in the last few weeks. Don't really want to mention it all, but so much good stuff has been coming out. It's crazy. Bucket list stuff, that fucking term. There was a post today on Facebook about bucket lists, and it really cracked me up. But anyways, first up here for the DVD and Blu-ray releases is a release from, of course, our friend Scream Factory is releasing Cherry Falls on Blu-ray. Yeah, apparently this is going to be the same version that came out before. It's not going to be like an uncut version because from what I've heard, and I think we did discuss on the podcast before, I believe the footage no longer exists anymore. I think that's right, JP, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the footage is not around anymore. So if you are thinking that you're getting this fully uncut version and stuff, no, you're getting the version that you've probably seen before if you have seen Cherry Falls. If you've never seen Cherry Falls, definitely pick it up. It's a great film. It's kind of an underrated slasher film, in my opinion. It's one of those ones that people really don't mention a whole lot. I think it's probably due to the time it came out, early to mid 2000s, I believe, is when it came out.
Yeah, and as we know when we did our 2002 show that, like, a lot of those films, a lot of people commented and said that, wow, I kind of didn't realize like how many good films came out around that time. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's definitely possible that people kind of overlook that little era.
You know, I'd never seen Cherry Falls when it first came out. I saw it years later, actually. I didn't even know about it. So it bypassed me, you know?
Mhm.
I'm not saying I know about every single film that ever comes out, but it was one that I never seen when it first came out. I saw it a few years later. But yeah, of course, starring Brittany Murphy, rest in peace to her. But yeah, it's a cool film. It's a cool film. Check it out. Looking forward to the transfer on it, as usual, Scream Factory. So next up here is one that I know has been selling like hotcakes, and a lot of my homies and friends, however you want to call them, have already received theirs in the mail. I'll probably get mine in June because it shipped a week ago. But that is the Death Walks Twice box set from Arrow Films. The films by Luciano Ercoli. We got Death Walks on High Heels and Death Walks at Midnight. Man, when they first announced this one, I just like literally fell off my chair. I was like, fuck, this is so awesome. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Two Italian films I've never seen before in a great box set. And Arrow's box sets, the actual the cardboard, you can beat people to death with those fucking things. They're always like so good quality and stuff. you
Yeah.
know so I'm really looking forward to this box set, man. It's just awesome. So definitely check that one out right there. This is one I actually didn't even know that was getting a Blu-ray release, being released by VCI, and it is City of the Dead, also known as Hospital Horror, I believe is the alternate title, or Horror Hospital. I think it's Horror Hospital or Hospital Horror. Shit, I can't remember.
Yeah, I never even have heard of that one
What the hell
before.
is? It's either Hospital, something like that. But anyways, City of the Dead. Yeah, it's actually a cool film. Got of course Christopher Lee in it, but VCI putting it out. I mean, they have done some pretty good transfers. I mean, Dark Knight of the Scarecrow they put out, and that was a fantastic transfer on that one. But yeah, City of the Dead. Next up here from Screen Factory, we've got a double feature, which is one that I've been stoked for ever since they announced this. This is one that I was just like, yes, what a great double feature. We got Murders in the Rue Morgue and the Dunwich Horror. Yeah, that is so good, man, because I don't own either one of these films and I'm just really excited. But yeah, awesome,
Yeah,
awesome
it's a cool
feature.
double feature. I haven't heard, I haven't seen those either.
The Dunwich Horror is a great film, so gonna be cool. From Vinegar Syndrome, and of course, if you know Vinegar Syndrome, most people seem to associate Vinegar Syndrome with their porno that they put
Yeah.
out. It's kind of funny. I talk to people and they're like, "Man, they're the company that put out the porno, right?" I'm, yep, that's right. But of course they focus on exploitation, of course, horror films too, but they've been recently putting out a lot of old trauma films, and they're releasing Pigs on Blu-ray. And now I'm so excited because Vinegar Syndrome, if you're not familiar with them, they do really, really amazing restoration work. Like, I don't even understand how they do it to make the films look the way they do. It's just
Yeah, they
incredible
actually
because
share a lot of that information on their Facebook page too.
yeah,
Over the years, I've kind of seen them
yeah,
share some of that.
and that's cool. I should probably look into that. But it's just amazing what they do. Like, I've seen some of these trauma. Obviously, I have the DVDs, these full screen muddy prints, VHS trans, blah blah blah. And then I check out the Blu-ray, and I'm like, holy shit, that's crazy. Totally worth the upgrade if you have Pigs. I'm assuming, but I love the cover. But
The,
anyways, Pigs, very very weird film. It was I believe it was on the Section 3 list of the Video Nasties actually. So yeah.
uh, but the thing about Vinegar Syndrome is they really seem to focus on preserving film. Like that's kind of like one of the things that they focus on is making sure that this stuff lasts, and that they have some of their more popular titles, but they also have like tons of stuff that like nobody's ever heard of, including their porn. Like they're kind of really, it almost seems like they have the attitude where like everything matters.
Yeah.
Everything in history of film matters, even if it's crap. So I like that about Vinegar Syndrome. One thing I don't like about Vinegar Syndrome is their PR guy is like so difficult. I've been trying to get on their list forever, and I can't. He just won't let me on. So
I know, it's kind of bullshit, man. Like, I have a pretty decent sized Vinegar Syndrome collection. I'm like, I wish I could just show him, like, hey man, I buy your shit, man. Just send me over some stuff to review. It'd be so awesome. Because Vinegar Syndrome stuff is pretty expensive where I am.
Yeah.
right? It's not as cheap as is down there. So, but
Yeah, I of
you
course
know,
own a few of their titles as well, and I've really been happy with everything I've picked up from them. So
yeah, their transfers are just something else. Speaking of Vinegar Syndrome, we got another one here. This movie's already been released on their website previously. This is kind of like the wide release. Now it's on Amazon and things like that. But Frightmare, the Blu-ray, yeah, another trauma title. And I do own this. The fucking transfer is like amazing on this. It looks really, really good. Featuring an early performance by Jeffrey Combs is actually in that one. So if you didn't order from the website when it was available just on there, now it's available widely. Next up from what company is this? I think it is the I can't even remember. Film Detective. Film Detective is putting out a film called The Red House. Now, if you're not familiar with the Film Detective, they are a company that specializes in, I think they release a lot of like kind of public domain films, but they're restoring those type of films and things like that. Not just public domain. They've done some that aren't and things like that. I've recently actually reviewed The Bat by them. And they did a great job with the transfer on that, which is fantastic. So, but the Red House, I don't really know anything about this one, but check out the website. Film
yeah,
Detective. Their Blu-rays are really cheap, actually. Like I think they're only like $12, $13 for the Blu-rays and stuff. So, but
yeah,
they do focus on films like kind of pre-1970s. So if you're not into older films, like black and white and just older films, then it's probably not going to be for you because it is all about retro films.
yeah.
So
They focus a lot on public domain and stuff. I actually reached out to them to see if I could get on their press list, and unfortunately, I believe you're on their press list, right?
yeah,
Yeah, so they said that they couldn't really afford to do multiples, and I was cool with that or whatever. But I ended up talking to the chick who handles their PR, and it's pretty interesting. She actually is from my area,
wow,
yeah, which I thought was pretty cool. So
yeah,
there's that little
and
tidbit.
actually. Yeah, and actually the other Blu-ray that I did was Bucket of Blood, that I reviewed too, and that was a great transfer also. So check out those. Definitely very affordable. So yeah, and then we got this is one that I've heard the title a couple times. For some reason I've never seen this one. I believe it's a German film. It's called Le Petit Mort or something. It sounds French to me. Totally sounds French, but I believe it says it's German. Language is in German. I don't know. But yeah, that's coming out, and part 2 of that, and it's being released by what's the name of the company? Widowmaker, I think, or something. I don't even know this company. And
Mm,
do you know this company, Widowmaker?
nope.
So strange, man. It's not very often like I see a release on here. I'm like, I don't know the company. That's crazy. But yeah, so a couple foreign films right there, and I believe that is it. Unless you got any more.
I do not. I don't have anything else.
It's kind of funny. Like we've
Well,
been
there
gone.
was one thing: Mystery Science Theater 3000, which isn't really horror, but the 35th volume comes out.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, like the last few weeks, there's been a lot of releases, but this one was kind of not really one of the slower weeks, but the beginning of the month was just ridiculous, ridiculous. Things have been coming out so frequently that I didn't even realize that. I don't know if you noticed or if they even got announced. I don't even know if Charles Band even announces things, but Puppet Master 4 and 5 came out on Blu-ray. Are you aware of this?
I wasn't aware, but he does announce stuff. I just really don't pay attention all that much anymore.
Yeah, it's so strange. Like I don't know where they came from, but I was on Amazon and on Amazon.ca, of course, and I came across Puppet Master 4 and 5, and they were already out, and they were $9.99 on .ca for the Blu-rays. And I was like, fuck, I can't pass. I'm like, awesome, because I have the first 3, and I was like, well, might as well grab those. So I didn't even know when they came out. Like it just I felt like, holy shit, am I losing it or something? Like how do I not know about this? But anyways, part 4 and 5. But that is going to do it for the DVD and Blu-ray releases for March 29th, 2016. And yeah, I guess there's some decent ones in there, I guess. So for my pick of the week, really this is pretty much a no-brainer, right? What are you thinking here?
I, the Death Walks Twice box set.
we got to go over to the UK, or actually I think there's an American box set. I think there is of this too. Death Walks Twice box set. Two pretty obscure Italian films box set. Got to grab that. But there is a lot of good ones here. Like I said, Cherry Falls, Pigs, at the Scream Factory double feature. You got to grab those. All good. So, but Death Walks Twice. Got to grab 2 copies. Don't know why you would grab 2 copies, but just makes absolutely no sense. But yeah, so that's gonna do it for the DVD and Blu-ray releases. Voicemails. Do we got some voicemails this week?
Yeah, let's get into our voicemails. One thing that I do want to mention, though, is a while back, last time we did voicemails, I actually skipped one, and then I accidentally deleted it. So it was Lewis, and he asked us why there is no females ever on the 22 Shots. We have a bunch of guests all the time, but never any females. So what do you think about that?
That's a fucking complete lie. We had Jeremy on for what, 50-something 60 episodes or something?
Yeah, that's a good point. Forgot about that.
To be honest, I don't really know a lot of females in this podcasting world, or that would even want to be on the show. I don't know. I just don't know that, to be honest. It's just a lack of knowing the personnel to bring onto a show. It's not like we're being sexist or whatever here. It's just, it is what it is. It just seems like we have a lot more male fans than we have females. I don't, that would be willing to come on the show.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, I have heard podcasts with females. I mean, Jamie Jenkins, who does a podcast with Dave, the ABCs of Hidden Horror, as well as the Skeleton Crew,
Land of the Creeps.
And
I've heard females on there.
Oh, well, Jamie, I don't think has done Land of the Creeps, but I was actually gonna say that Greg has a couple of chicks that do Land of the Creeps with him every once in a while. Also, which I haven't listened to Land of the Creeps in a long while, but it's still one of my favorite one of the first podcasts I really got into. Terror Troop, Bloody Lizzie is on there. There's a few other females that show up on Terror Troop every once in a while. They're out there, but we personally don't know. I don't know personally any female podcaster like personally know them. So yeah, I mean, maybe one day I'm sure we'll eventually run into one. So yeah, so there you go, Lewis. There's your answer.
I think it would be kind of cool, man.
Oh, it would definitely be cool. It's definitely. I bet our ratings would go up.
Did you mention Killer POV?
Oh yeah, Killer POV. Yeah, Rebecca McKendry.
Yeah, and Killer POV. I always talk about Killer POV. That show's awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite podcasts because it's people who are like directly involved in the industry, so you get a unique perspective on things.
That is true.
Yeah,
that is true. Yeah, so, they're entertaining too, man. I don't know. There's just something about like their chemistry too. They just, I don't know, man. It's just one of those shows that just flows so well, and all of a sudden, like, holy shit, that was 4 hours.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, I love that show. I really do. That's one of my favorites to listen to. I usually will let it go by for like 6 weeks, and then I'll just binge listen at work for like a week.
I did that a couple times too. I was like, a couple weeks went by, or a few weeks went by, and I was like, yeah, I'll check these out. 10 hours later, I'm like, I can't hear anymore.
Yeah, I've listened to damn near every episode except for maybe like the last 4 or something because I like to binge watch. But I started when they were on episode like 15 is when I found them, so I've been along and I went back and listened to all of the first 15 or whatever.
I gotta catch up. I haven't listened to their last
dude
couple, so.
I think that one of their best ever is when they had Charles Band on, and just because Charles Band talked so much and it was so interesting to hear him talk about things and just just how he was able to stay successful.
Well, that's what Charles Band does. He just talks. He's a good talker. He's a great salesman, man. That's what he is. He's a salesman. He's a great talker. So
yeah.
So
without further ado, let's get to the actual voicemails. First up, this one's from Jeremy. Actually, we ended up not playing. I didn't even hear this one before we did episode 74, so it's a little like out of date. But here it is.
All right, thank you everybody for listening to episode number 74 of the 22 Shots of Moodz and Horror podcast. Wait, this isn't the end of the show. Wait, what did I call it about again? Oh, wait, it's about that fucking Canadian. Yeah, you stupid Canadian, I didn't forget about you. You know I love you very, very, very much. But there is more important things on the table, such as JP being a Mexican fucking asshole. And you know that things that are more important has to be spoken about first. JP's Mexicanness has to be spoken first. Anyway, I guess I didn't give too much of an update the last time that I called, simply because I just wanted to say once again that JP is a Mexican fucking asshole. But I am alive and doing well. I have been extremely busy working at this distribution label, having a really good time, but I've been super busy, haven't been able to watch too many movies, and I missed the show. But I promise you, you fuckers, I will be back. But until then, I will expect Brandon's kosher balls in Moodz' mouth. And then you will all know what happens next. All right, everybody. I hope everybody is doing well, and you enjoy episode number 74 of the 22 Shots of Moodz and Horror podcast. I shall talk to you guys soon. And until then, see you guys.
So what do you think, Jeremy using the same joke twice?
It just sounds like he was just actually on the show.
Yeah.
You know, that totally makes sense.
He said his minute and a half of remarks and then stayed quiet for the rest of the show. Just like the times.
That's awesome that he phoned in though.
Yeah.
Called in, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, he would totally bash you about that right now. So
probably.
But we know that Jeremy doesn't actually listen to the show, so we can pretty much say anything about him right now. Like, Jeremy, you suck.
Yeah. I think it's kind of ironic though. Like, he works for this distribution company and he's surrounded by film all day and he just has no time to watch film at all. I think if I was in that environment, I'd be like, I just force myself, you know, at whatever cost. I don't even give a shit. I'd be like, I just find like some random janitor's room and be like, hey, I need to watch this fucking movie. You know, seems like it's got a pretty cool job actually. So
yeah,
congratulations on the job, Jeremy. I know you're not listening, so go fuck yourself. But again, thanks for the voicemail. We appreciate it. And yes, for the people out there that have been asking, are you guys still friends? Blah, blah, blah. There you go. We're still friends. He's calling JP a Mexican fucking asshole.
Yeah, that's
and he's
exactly
in Canada. Of course,
sounds like
only friends do this, right? So, yes.
All right. So a while back we had a voicemail from Dracula himself. Well, we have a little follow up to that, so play that.
Hello, 22 Shots of Moodz and Horror. This is Igor. You may have heard me on a previous phone call. I thought I should call and ask a question of my own. This one is specifically about sidekicks or side characters in horror films. I want to know which characters, not main characters, were able to upstage the main characters, like Renfield in Dracula. I know that sometimes they don't, and most of the time they're only supposed to be supporting characters, but some of them stand out as more memorable than the actual main characters. So who, in your opinion, achieves this? I have to get going. The master, he'll soon be back, and I need to make sure the blood banks are completely full. Otherwise, he gets really cranky. So, peace out, and stay awesome.
So, awesome voicemail. I love those. But characters that outshine these stars. One that comes to mind is Bela Lugosi in Son of Frankenstein, I believe. He plays Igor.
Yeah.
I love that character. That's my favorite character probably in all of the films. And the other one that I thought of, which is another one of my favorite characters ever, is Chop Top, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. He's the star of that show.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really thinking like total villains and things like that. I was thinking of like, I mean, it's kind of funny when you think about it. Like in Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, you know, Freddy is, you know, he's the actual star, right? Mm-hmm. But there is main characters. There's storylines revolving around these antagonists and things like that. The first thing that came to my mind was Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Dream Warriors. And I was thinking, like, you know, Patricia Arquette's character, she's like the main character in the film, right? The whole story is about her.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking Kincaid totally steals the show in that film, though.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Besides Freddy, obviously, right?
yeah.
But like as for like the
Well,
characters and things
Freddy
like
himself would be a good example because Freddy started out as just an antagonist, and Nancy was the main star. And by the third film, Freddy becomes the main star.
yeah, true
So
that.
yeah, but Kincaid definitely steals the show. One of my favorite characters ever. Love.
But I mean, like I'm saying, he's I mean, when you kind of just kind of put Freddy off to the side, you got Patricia Arquette's character, like she is, like I said, the main character of the film, and then Kincaid, he's kind of a side character. But yeah, he's like honestly one of the most memorable characters to me. Maybe it's because of the film itself, but I don't know. I just think he's like one of the most memorable characters, like in the whole franchise and everything, and just in general. It is what it is. So.
Yeah, definitely. I think another one, if I'm going to go the protagonist route, is Dr. Loomis outshining Jamie Lee. Because Jamie Lee's definitely the main character, but I think that Sam Loomis definitely outshines her, Donald Pleasance.
I don't know why I thought of it as like the protagonist, not the antagonist type thing. It's weird.
I just thought of it as antagonist because he made it. He was like his example was antagonist.
I get exactly. It's funny I didn't even like clue into that. I mean, I did clue into that. I just immediately thought of antagonist. I don't know. It's weird.
All right.
So weird.
Next voicemail, we have one from Lawrence.
Hey guys, I had a question for you. This is Lawrence, by the way. I was just thinking of something, and I'm wondering what your take is on it. We know that we don't have to go over this again. There are plenty of films out there that follow the formula set forth by whatever other film that came before them. The examples are all over the place, and people are complaining about the lack of originality, but I'm wondering, do you think they're not just playing it safe, but they see this formula that works out and everyone seems to like it? They keep going to the movies. Even though there's all these generic films out there, they keep going. And I'm wondering if they're doing this because it's just so popular and they don't see any reason to go and do something fairly original or different if it's a chance it's probably not going to pan out when they've got right in front of them this formula that works out time and time again. It's just like a cooking recipe. Why change up the recipe if it's worked for meal after meal after meal? And no one complains about it. So, well, I mean, we complain about it, but we don't complain by keeping our money in our pockets. We go out and buy the movies or buy the movie tickets. So what's your take on it? Is it really that people are just not that imaginative, or that they see that this just works better? Anyway, have a great day, guys. Bye.
Okay, so I think this is kind of an interesting thing. I mean, we talk about it. Well, let me answer it by this. I think that film and types of film, it cycles. If you look way back into like the golden age of horror, right, the 30s, with all the Universal Monsters films, kind of a callback to our previous question with Igor calling in. All of those films are very similar, especially when you get into the sequels, right? I mean, you have the Frankenstein, Dracula, pretty unique by themselves, but then you have Son of Frankenstein and Ghost of Frankenstein, House of Frankenstein, and they're all the same. They're all the same movie, more or less, especially The Mummy, which is literally carbon copies of each other, reused scenes and everything. Like, The Mummy is the same film over and over again, all those sequels.
Yeah.
And then you go into the slasher realm, which is the 80s. Late 70s, early 80s, and sequel after sequel after sequel after, let's rip off Halloween and do Friday the 13th and all the other holidays, Happy Birthday to Me, April Fool's Day, My Bloody Valentine. And you have that cycle where it's just the same thing over and over again. And then you flash forward to the early 2000s where you have remake after remake after remake after remake, or remake of an Asian film or a French film or whatever. All these remakes of foreign films. I think that it's been around forever in one form or another. And I think we like something so much just by human design, we want to see it again and again and again and again. And then eventually, when we've seen it too much, we'll get tired of it. We'll start complaining about it, but we'll still see it again and again and again and again. And then eventually after that, we get completely sick of it and we don't see it. And then something new comes along and we like that a lot. And then we see it again and again and again and again. And it's a cycle.
It's just beating a dead horse, man. You know, I mean, these studios and things, they're going to, you know, at the end of the day, it's really about the almighty dollar.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that these studios, it's probably a combination of both. You know, they have a formula that works in a certain time period. They're going to beat that horse. They're just going to fucking, you know, just use it to the death.
They're essentially you know how Ari Lehman, the original Jason, is like still milking that cow? That's what they're doing. But, you know, is it wrong? Not necessarily.
I don't think so at all. Like, I honestly think that, you know, these studios, like I said, it's all about the money. It really is, you know, and they have something that works. Why not just keep using or keep putting it out there? But I do think there is a combination of, you know, having this formula that works. At the end of the day, it's about the money. But then again, I do think that there is a lack of originality also. I mean, if you look at they do try to branch out and try to do certain things sometimes. And most of the time it doesn't necessarily work, you know, but these things catch on. We've got, you know, like you said, you mentioned the Universal, I was going to say the Universal Soldier. What the fuck? Universal Monsters. Like that era, the formula that's what it was, you know, into the slasher and then early 2000s. These things, they work, right? They're gonna fucking roll with this thing, man. You know, found footage films. I mean, they beat the fucking shit out of the dead horse with that. Mm-hmm. You know, it's all about money, but I'm convinced though it is a lack of originality too, though. I think that's what contributes to beating the dead horse. I don't know why I keep using that fucking phrase over and over again, but you know what I'm saying? It's a formula and it's familiar to people, and maybe it's a lack of, you know, I don't even know what the word is, even branching out and trying something new, because at the end of the day, it's about losing money or gaining money.
Well, even if you look at the past, you know, 20 years or so, what happens is somebody does something original on a low scale.
Yeah.
And then Hollywood takes that film and it becomes a huge mega hit. Blair Witch, Paranormal Activity, stuff like that, right? And then everybody in Hollywood makes that movie for a long period of time. So they don't take the risk. The big studios don't really take the risk. They just, when somebody else takes the risk on a low scale and it becomes a mega hit, then they just adapt to what that is.
So they're adapt. I mean, that's a kind word for steal. You know, they take that good idea and just kind of use it and then use it over and over again. But yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense. I mean, if you're trying to make money and not lose it, stick with what works. Like he used the metaphor, or with recipes. It's a good one. Why the fuck would you change your recipe on your meal if it works for everybody? Why would you also just change it and and then have, you know, it come out disgusting? That's not going to happen, right? It's just not going to happen. So, I mean, as much as we complain about, oh man, there's so much lack of originality in Hollywood films and in horror films in general and stuff like that, it's not entirely true. There is a lot, you know, of
there's a lot of originality on the indie level for sure.
Yeah, and that's where it is. That's where I was leading to, is that you kind of have to explore the whole realm of this world of horror films. You know, you have studio films and stuff. And yeah, I mean, I would definitely argue to death that, you know, the studios, they're not willing to take a lot of unnecessary risks. Why not? Why would they? Why would they invest a whole shitload of money into something that they know that's probably not going to work or might not work out, when they can just stick to a formula and make their money? Right? Like you said, people are going. They're buying the movies. They're going to the theater. They're going to the cinema. They're doing what they are. And it's familiarity. Like, I mean, honestly, in the early 80s, you think people were like, oh, another slasher film. No, no, it was what it was, man.
Well,
You know,
I think they kind of were a little bit like.
well, I mean, not in 1981, 1980, like those couple years. I mean, fuck, dude, there was literally a slasher film that opened up every single weekend in 1981. It's incredible. It's
Yeah.
incredible. And I mean, it's just like, hey, they're just doing this to death. Yeah, it only lasted a couple years. By 1984, it was pretty much on the major decline. You know, but we've seen that even this
But
decade
I feel
with found
like
footage
I feel
films
like
and
people
things.
really didn't like those back then. I think they look back on them like nostalgic, and we all love them now. But I think when they were coming out, I don't think very many people actually like loved them besides like teenagers.
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to
Because
say
like I hear all the people that like my parents and
they
stuff.
were obviously making money though. That's the thing, because these guys, these companies,
Yeah,
and stuff,
which is
studios, they're
exactly what's
not
happening
pumping these films.
now. They're making
Yeah.
money, but nobody likes them. But they make it's weird. So are
That's
these
how I
films that
feel
are
about
coming
the
out
found-
now, or when in 20 years will people like them?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, these studio guys, I mean, the Wines, do you think they're thinking like that far in the future? They're going, nope.
No, I don't think
Right
that
now,
matters at all.
no, they don't give a shit, man. They're like, hey, fucking ghost films are in right now. We're making fucking ghost. I'm not saying they are, but I'm just using an example. But found footage is in. Let's do it. Let's run with it. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the originality is not in the Hollywood films.
Yeah,
It's in
it really
cinema.
never has been though.
Because
so.
indie filmmakers can take those gambles. I mean, if you're gonna make a film for $5,000 or $10,000, yeah, it's a lot of money to a lot of people. But I mean, in the big scheme of things, it's like, hey, you can still take that chance.
That's
Who knows?
nothing
It might
film
work and stuff. And that's what I'm saying. Like, for a studio film, they're not going to invest fucking 20 million in some crazy ass film idea. There's no fucking way it's happening, man. So I don't think it's necessarily lack of originality with them. I mean, I'm sure they probably have some original ideas. They're scared shitless to actually do them. They're waiting for someone else, like you said, on a lower scale to do it and go, yeah, that fucking worked, man. Let's snag that shit up.
Which is not worth
man.
the risk. It's just
It isn't
just
because, like I
not.
said, it's all about money, and these guys are not willing to lose anything, especially in today's cutthroat, film industry, right? Like, I mean, horror films. Let's face it, it's not like how it used to be. Theatrical horror films. How many was last year? How many theatrical horror films was there last year? There was like, I think it was an all-time record low for actual theatrical horror films. There was like under 20 or something like that made like, I'm talking not like one or two night showings. I'm talking like, semi-wide release horror films.
A good
like,
8 maybe.
Yeah, there was like fucking nothing last. It's insane. So they're not really taking, they're not willing to do anything with that nowadays. So I don't know, man. It's a combination of both. I hope that answered your question. I feel like we just kind of went in circles a little bit, but I don't know, man. It's something that always kind of intrigues me, but
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what it comes down to. It's all about money. They're not willing to lose it, man.
Rightfully so. I honestly agree with it. I like. There's no point. Just like they're not art. It's not about the producers are not artists, right?
They don't care about the movies. They care about if it's going to make money.
Yeah. That's why they're producers and not directors.
No, and this is why we have 95 Paranormal Activity movies now. You know what I'm fucking saying, man? What is it, like 6th one coming out? And I'm just like, oh. But I always jump on the hate wagon for paranormal, but I can't really. I'm a hypocrite, really, because I've only seen the first one. I'm just shitting on it because it's found footage, and I don't even dislike found footage films. I don't even know where I'm coming from with this. I actually do like found footage films. So,
all right,
and discovered that.
Continuing along here, we got another one from Lawrence.
Hey guys, it's Lawrence again. I actually had a thought. It was about, slashers. I remember that there was actually a genre before slashers that I don't really remember many films for. I remember one specifically, but it was the Strangler series, or the Strangler genre, where instead of cutting people to bits, folks were just strangled around the neck, been some, but I can't remember there being a large number of them. I think they kind of died out when blood became the next big thing, blood and gore more specifically, but it just seems like it'd be kind of interesting to get strangler films, a slasher film, just to get some kind of variety going, to see what could be done with that. What do you think would have to be done to bring back the strangler genre? Do you think it's even possible to bring it back in a day and age when people are expecting a lot of heavy special effects and some brutal kills? I mean, I'm sure they can get brutal with strangulation, but do you think that someone can actually pull off a horror film with a lack of blood? Well, let me know what you guys think, and have a great time. Bye.
Okay, so
I honestly think that we're so far beyond going that far back that I don't think we could ever do it. Well, I mean, just to like have a film where you're just strangling people, I think that to work in today's day and age, you would have to have the blood and gore. I think if you're just going around strangling people and that was the end of the scene, like it was just no effects or anything, I think it'd be so bland, because what we see on a daily basis is just not that. This isn't like the 30s or anything. I mean, to be honest, I think that, for a strangler film to work, if that's going to be your main kill throughout every scene, you're going to have these big, powerful monster hands, and you're going to have to strangle people and pop their heads off. Oh, God. Well, like you're just like, bah, and it just fucking pops up. But like, honestly, if you're just strangling someone, there's no blood, and that's, that happens 8 or 9 times in a film, dude, that's like really, really repetitive and not exciting.
Well, that's the problem here, is those films weren't like that. They're not. There were, that was the terminology used, the strangler film, before it was, often some proto slashers could be considered strangler films. But the thing with a film that's labeled a strangler film, it's not like, they're not slashers in terms, there's not there's like 1 or 2 deaths, you know what I mean? So it's more about like a narrative of
even more of a
usually
reason
like
why
a chick being stalked in her apartment or something. These films were just slow, like almost like a Peeping Tom style film or something, where it's about the suspense and the tension, and they don't really work now because everything's so fast paced now. You could make like an arty one, like something like I could see like somebody who did something like A Girl Walks Home Alone at night or whatever it's called, like doing like a slow pace, like arty, like strangler film. But it was never really about the kills, though. That's when it became the slasher. So you wouldn't really, you could make a strangler film. It just would be a niche. You couldn't do a whole genre on it. It's just, of the time of the 60s, these were the types of films that were coming out because everything was a little bit more tame. And that's exactly I'm not what I was thinking super familiar with those type of films or anything, but I do know that often there might be like 1 or 2 deaths. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a big body count, and that's why.
I often can't even really think of too many, like right off the top of my head. Like the only one I can remember right now is entitled the Strangler. I believe it's from the early 60s. But like, yeah, that's like all, like just strangle. I don't know. It's weird. It's such a strange question. I never even really thought of that.
But
for sure.
Also, like these films were called strangler films because often there would be a death like that or something. But I'm pretty sure that they weren't exclusively only killed by that as well. Like only hands, like just like a slasher. You call it a slasher, but how many slasher films do you really know that they only slash people? Very few. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but I mean, if there was a whole genre just, kind of like called the Strangler genre, wouldn't you just assume that it was like some dude wrapping his hands around some neck?
Well, no, not really, because like I know I've heard like in documentaries and stuff, like people like reference that time, and it was always more about, it was just like the voyeur, like slow, like stalking movie, and they were just called they were just dubbed strangler films.
It's kind of the idea of what the film is. You got this guy kind of stalking around and things, and that's just generally what you think the end result was going to be, the Strangler, so.
That's funny though. All right, moving on. We have 2 more voicemails here from Rob. First one, I don't know what it's about.
Hey guys, Rob from Georgia. Thought I'd go light this week and just drop a little story on you real quick. The Halloween show got me to thinking about Rob Latine, and that gets me to thinking about The Thing, which gets me to thinking about one of the biggest regrets I have in my life. You drop this. When I was 12, I had a buddy, so-called buddy. We had a plan to go see The Thing at the movie theater. Now, it was playing side by side with Firefox at the time, that Clint Eastwood Cold War flick. And we conned our parents, told them we were going to go see Firefox when we really had intentions on seeing The Thing. Now, this was going to be like the greatest moment of my entire life. So we get there, right? Everything works out perfect, flawless. I mean, the shows are at the same time. Everything is working out in my, for me. And so we get there, get popcorn, get soda and everything. And, of course, I'm a big movie poster guy. I got to go look at posters. And so we go over and start looking at the poster for The Thing. And, man, right then and there, this kid my buddy starts to get second, starts to chicken out, I guess is what it is. He sees the poster, starts to get a little freaked out. I'm like, are you kidding me? I said, we got to see this movie. And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I've waited, I don't know, who knows how long I waited to see that movie. But there I was, and my buddy is having second thoughts. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Finally, he just completely chickens out and says, I just can't, I'm too freaked out. I'm too scared. I can't go see that. And so we ended up going in to see Firefox right next to The Thing. And back then, I mean, those walls were like paper thin. During the low moments of Firefox, you could hear The Thing on the other side. I got so freaking pissed off. I was so mad and angry. I don't even know if we were friends after that, but I was 12. I can't remember. But anyway, so the movie ends. We watch it while my mom's picking it up. Now, I think she got clued in that maybe, I was kind of selling or something. And so she's like, so how was Firefox? And, man, I just started dumping the whole movie out to her. And you should have seen the look in her face. She kind of just looks at me. Wow. Okay. So
you actually went.
One big regret in life. Couldn't see John Carpenter's the Thing when I was like 12 because I had a buddy chicken out on me. Do you guys have any regrets like that? Stuff that you still hold on to that just rubs you the wrong way if somebody brings it up? That's it for this week. I hope you guys have a great week. And JP, I hope you have a better week this week than you had last week. See you guys.
Not sure exactly what week was bad because I don't know when that voicemail came in, but
maybe you're having a bad week all the time.
Yeah, man, that's a great story.
Yeah, that's a great story. Oddly enough, I had the same regret. 1982, I couldn't go to the movie, man, because I was fucking 2 and I'd shit my diaper. Couldn't go. No, honestly, man,
I seen Free Willy when I was 2 and I didn't poop anywhere, so.
Really? Yeah, I couldn't make it in there, man. I filled my diaper and that was it, man. My parents were like, they're not taking me in. Not taking me in, man. Smell like shit. So no, that's one of those things that's got to be so devastating, like on all levels, because you were that
knowing
excited
you were that
to
close to seeing it, and like now you can't. It ain't like you can relive that experience ever.
No, and it's just, it turns out that it's like literally one of the best horror films ever made. And he was like that close to going in there to seeing that on the big screen in 1982. That is brutal.
Yeah,
that's so brutal, man. I would think about that all the time too. That's crazy, absolutely crazy.
My personal, I have a recent one. I think last year, one of the that drive-in thing that I go to sometimes, Moodz. Well, I've been there once, where they do the 35 millimeter, like it's like 2-day event, and it's in Vandergrift, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Well, one of the years they had the night was like Suspiria, Carrie, and like 2 other, like I think it was like Return of Living. I don't know, I can't remember, but it was something good. And it was Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Suspiria, maybe Dawn of the Dead, and the other. What was the other one I said a second ago? Carrie. And I missed that, and I would have loved to see Carrie on the big screen, and even Suspiria, but mostly Carrie and Texas Chainsaw. God damn it, Texas Chainsaw would have been great. So I missed that. That's like one of them. And the only other one I have is I had an opportunity when I was a little ass kid to go see Scream, and I didn't. I don't know why. I was like 5 or something, but I think my cousin went, and usually I always went to the movies with him. So I mean, obviously, it probably wasn't in my control because I was 5, but because I seen Scream 2, Scream 3, and Scream 4 in the theater, so it always bummed me out that I never got to see the first one. And those are mine. But I am going to that drive-in this year too. So I'm going to see Fright Night on 35 millimeter, The Lost Boys, Fred Decker's The Monster Squad, and the Near Dark, which all vampire movies.
Are you only going for the one night?
Yeah. The first night is like Night of the Creeps, Night of the Comet, a couple other ones.
Yeah, I think there's like 3 night films and then one random one that's not.
Oh yeah, Night of the
So it's
Living Dead. Well, I think they're all like zombie-esque movies.
Yeah.
Night of the Living Dead, the remake actually. It's not the original.
That's right. It is Savini remake. That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm going for the second night because it's a little too far of a drive unless you stay there both nights, but I ain't trying to do that. Plus, it's hard to get off work. I'm going with a few work friends, so it's going to be hard for all of us to get off work.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it should be cool. I know you're jealous of the Fright Night thing.
Yeah, I know. That's totally awesome. Actually, it's such a great bill, man. It's too bad you couldn't go both nights, but
yeah,
pretty awesome stuff, man. Really, really good.
Yeah, I'm a little bummed that they're playing. Honestly, if I could choose, I would remove the Monster Squad. Like, I like Monster Squad and stuff, but it's just not like my idea of like that's something you take your kid to. I don't feel like it's like it's just it doesn't really fit with the other 3. I feel like Fright Night, Near Dark, and The Lost Boys.
No, it really doesn't actually. I mean, Monster Squad is actually one of my favorite movies, but yeah, on that bill, it does kind of stick out a little bit.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a little slower and like not as fun. I feel like with like 4 adults watching it. You know what I mean? It's just
well, especially if they've never seen the film. Like if it's like a first time watch for them too. Oh, so it's gonna be. Oh, dude, they're gonna get lost in that one. They're gonna be like, "This movie fucking sucks. It's for kids. It's for kids." Well, kind of.
Yeah. Like it wouldn't be bad if they played that one last, but I think they're playing it second. So it's like Lost Boys, and then I would swap Near Dark to put that number 2, and then the Monster Squad at number 4. So it goes right now. The lineup is Lost Boys, the Monster Squad, Fright Night, and then Near Dark. And Near Dark's gonna play at like 4 a.m, so everybody's gonna be like dead. But yeah, do you have any regrets?
I don't have any regrets for theater, like memories and stuff. I honestly, I could not think of anything for theater. I mean, probably my biggest regret for cinematic experiences would have been the fact that I lived in a city where I just didn't get a lot. I mean, I had a lot more options when I was younger and stuff, but there was one kind of like lower key theater in town that used to get a lot of like pretty cool horror films and stuff. Like I remember telling you I'd seen Hellraiser 3 in there. Like it played one night. One fucking night.
Cool. I would have loved to see Hellraiser 3.
And I went and seen that, and that was really cool. But I can't actually think of anything where I got kind of screwed out of scene and stuff because, honest to God, like we just don't get a lot. But but honestly, like in that realm, it's not theater related, but we actually, oddly enough, even brought this up earlier in the show. It's kind of strange, but a few years ago, I would say probably, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. I was kind of surfing eBay and I was looking for things, and I came across the Phantasm, the Phantasm Ball, the UK box set, Sphere. And it was like 50. They were asking like $50, and I was like, "Hey, this can't be right." I'm like, "This is insane." I'm like reading the description, says everything's good, blah blah blah, and I can't remember what the shipping was on this stuff, but fucking stupid me ended up passing on it. For some weird reason, I just didn't pick it up. I can't remember exactly the full reasons why. I think I probably put it in my cart and then it just sold right away. I don't know, but I didn't buy it like right on the spot. And ever since then, I'm always like, I've been super pissed at myself because that's one thing I've always wanted. And I never grabbed it, and I'm fucking stupid for it because it was so cheap.
Well, you're not stupid if it gets a own sphere in the U.S. this year.
If it gets a sphere, which I hope it does, that'd be super cool. But that set's really cool, man. You know, I always regretted not grabbing that. I'm just like, the fuck, it was like $50. It was like stupid. And the funny thing was, and the reason why I was questioning it, because at the time, the cheapest one I could find was like 125, 135, 140 bucks, you know, kind of thing, right? And I'm like, what the hell's wrong with this thing? And I said it was like mint, and I was like, okay, probably put it in there thinking, oh, I'll just grab it tomorrow. You know, maybe I'd already spent some money. You know, like some of those days where you spend money, you're like, I can't spend any more today, but I'll spend the money tomorrow, even though in reality that makes no difference.
I would have passed on it too, to be honest. I wouldn't have bought it.
Yeah, but that's just like I love those type of pieces and things, and I don't know. I'm fucking so stupid for passing on that. And you know, even though it's probably gonna hopefully it gets a sphere, that'd be pretty cool. But it'd be still cool to have it though. Come on, it's Phantasm, right? You know, but
yeah. All right.
That was just one that I thought of, but yeah, no cinematic ones, not really.
We have one more voicemail here from Rob, so let's get rid of that one.
Hey guys, Rob from Georgia. Just thought I'd drop another quick one on you. Just a quick one. JP, back on in the Halloween podcast, I can't remember exactly, but didn't I hear you at some point in that show throw a little love out to Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning? I can't remember where, but I haven't happened.
That show and probably a million others.
I was listening to the show, and so I may wake up like mid-stream of a conversation somewhere, and maybe I was dreaming it, I don't know, but it seems like I heard something. So, anyway, that got me to thinking, you know, when I was 85, I guess, 15, whatever, you know, I saw that movie in the theater. It's one of the only, maybe one of two movies, but it's one of the only ones that I actually walked out of. I mean, 15, 20 minutes in, just walked out. I can't remember it exactly, but all I think I do remember is I was so upset that you just knew at the beginning that this wasn't going to be the real Jason. And that got me so unbelievably furious that I just couldn't watch it anymore. And so I just got up and I went out and kind of bended to the lady behind the ticket counter or whatever. And yeah, I can't even remember if I saw another movie or not, or got my money back or whatever. But I just remember being so absolutely furious that movie was going in the direction that it was. But saying that, you know, I've kind of come back to that movie. It's weird. I don't think the same way about that movie anymore today. Of course, it's been a lot of years, but same goes for Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, and I'll even say Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. And how about that? There's a show for you. Maybe the three great franchises and the sort of cast to the side movies from those franchises. Season of the Witch,
the Ginger Kids,
Friday the 13th Part 5, and Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Maybe you guys could do a show where you revisit those three in particular and kind of revisit, you know, in light of the greater franchise. But anyways, that's it. Want to get out of here before I get cut off. Hope you guys have a great week. See ya.
All right, so yeah, you are correct. I throw lots of love for Friday 5, as well as Elm Street 2, and as well as Halloween 3. My main thing...
Got the greatest rack in the whole series, man. The greatest rack.
Yeah, Debbie Sue Voorhees. So my thing with Friday 5, and I've always felt this way. One, I find it very interesting, Rob, that you knew that it wasn't the real Jason, because once it was revealed that it wasn't the real Jason as a kid, I still didn't know it wasn't the real Jason. I thought Jason was wearing a human face mask. That was what I was thinking. I was like, that's weird. But anyway, my thing with Friday 5, and I've always felt this way. What do people like about the Friday the 13th films? Is it the endings? No, nobody gives a fuck about the endings. There's a few bad ones in the Friday the 13th series. They like a bunch of teenagers, cool characters, going out to the lake and getting killed off in cool ways, and they like seeing titties, and they like seeing characters do drugs
because they're
and
having the sex
and do all
The
that. That's
sex.
why we like the Friday the 13th films. We like to see the cool kills and characters and shit. And Friday 5 has some of the best of all of those things. Boobs, kills, characters. Come on, man. Reggie the Reckless, Damon, Ethel. Come on. And the only thing that it doesn't have is Tom Matthews as Tommy Jarvis. But that was my thing. It's like, I don't really care
Yeah.
how it ends, because to me, it's the same fucking movie. It's the same movie as all the other ones, except for, I guess, technically Jason's not doing the kills. But come on, that's fucking Jason, right? Even though at the end it shows that it's not. And if
But the
you would
setting
chop
in
that
this
off,
one's
there would
also
be no
different,
way
for
that
sure.
you could tell that that wasn't Jason.
Yeah. It took me a long time to get.
Setting?
Yeah,
What do you mean?
like just where it is.
It's different?
I don't know, man. It's kind of like all over the place. I don't know. There's something about part 5 that just doesn't feel exactly like. Well, I mean, especially like the first 4. I don't know. There's something about it, man. It's just weird. It doesn't have.
I don't know. It feels exactly the same to me.
Really?
Yeah, like exactly the same. Like part 6 feels less like those than part 5. Like part 6 really is all over the place.
Well, no, yeah. Part 6 is like the biggest, Friday film, right? In terms of like geography wise, right? It's kind of all over the place. I don't know. In part 5, I haven't seen part 5 actually in a long time. I don't think I've watched part 5 since I did that marathon, to be honest. But doesn't most of it take place at the nut house?
Yeah, but it's on the lake.
I know, but it doesn't really showcase the lake like a whole lot. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't really remember too well. It's weird.
I don't know. I've always felt like part 5 like is one of the best Friday the 13th if you would chop off the ending. Like if that didn't happen, I think people would say that it's like in the top 3. I really do. If that ending didn't exist there, I think people would love this one.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm pretty convinced, man. Like it just does not feel like that, that straight up like camping type, Friday the 13th film that we grew to love, from part 2, 3, and 4 and stuff. But no, I've actually grown an appreciation for it too. I mean, I've gotten over the fact that, the funny thing was when I first watched part 5 back in the day, I was like, I don't think I was as disappointed as some, like other people were with the ending and stuff. I was just like, okay, whatever. It didn't bug me as much as it did for other people and stuff.
It's a really stupid ending. It really is.
I remember being confused the first time I watched it. I was like, what the fuck just happened? Like, what? Kind of thing, right?
Yeah, it is a dumb ending.
Yeah, but
so is, I mean, a lot of them are dumb. Like, part 8's really dumb. But anyway, it's my 4th favorite Friday the 13th film. Part 4 is my favorite. Part 2 is my 2nd favorite. Part 6 is my 3rd favorite. And then part 5 is my 4th favorite.
Yep.
But yeah, I love them. I love Elm Street 2, by the way, if you haven't heard.
I just found that so funny that he brought up Elm Street 2 and part 5. I'm like, my God, those are the 2 films that you defend to the death.
I think Elm Street 2 is my 3rd favorite because I like part 3 the best, and then part 1, and then part 2, and then part 4.
Strange. It's very, very strange. Part 3, man, of Season of the Witch. We've talked about it, man. I love that movie.
Oh yeah, Season of the Witch. I think out of all of those, like, Season of the Witch really has found a hardcore audience.
I just can't get over how people still trip balls about the like, oh, it's not a Halloween film, blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, you're right. It doesn't have Michael Myers in it, but it doesn't mean that it can't be a decent film.
I don't think it's we had that conversation, but I actually don't think it's very good. I just like it. It's stupid. It makes no sense, especially the ending.
No, it completely doesn't make sense, but that's what makes it so much fun and awesome.
It's fun.
Is that it's so ludicrous. The whole idea of what they're trying to accomplish is fucking ludicrous. It's ridiculous. but it has a lot. It's got a lot of good scenes in the film. Like the masks are awesome. It's got a lot of memorable things, like the music,
Yeah.
the jingles. Man, it's got so much memorable moments.
I always think of the
Right.
ending where, spoiler alert, like Chalice is like calling the TV networks, telling them to like change the station. It's like, yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
that
the thing
works.
I mean, I know we talked about this before, but one of my favorite things about Season of the Witch, though, is the fact that they had the balls to totally desecrate a kid, like right on fucking screen, just eat his head off. I love
Yeah,
that.
I'm always a fan of killing kids for sure.
But it's just the way they do it. It's so fucking vicious and brutal. You're just like, yes, that just happened. I think that's brilliant. That's totally awesome. And that's worth the admission right there for not having Michael Myers in the film. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally good. So
yeah, so that is the voicemails, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah, voicemails. Holy shit, there was a lot. I guess also we had a long layover too, though. So
Yeah.
It is what it is. Alrighty, so getting into the morbid fact of the week. Of the week. I would say of the week.
You do that with everything.
I don't know why.
Here's the news of the week.
The news of the week, yeah. The coroner's report, courtesy of Rue Morgue of Weird Stats and Morbid Facts. This one is coming from the brand new issue, actually. Issue 165, April 2016. I actually just got this in the mail today, and I was like, well, perfect. Get this in the mail today. Might as well read out something on here. And I'm going to go with I haven't even read through the whole list yet, but I'm going to pick the first one that comes to my eye here. I don't know. It's kind of cool. Again, this person was actually brought up earlier in the show. Earlier in his career, Bill Moseley moved to New York City in hopes of getting on Saturday Night Live.
I have heard that before, actually.
Really? I did not know that. I'm trying to picture Bill Moseley on Saturday Night Live, and I'm trying to think of when it was, and I'm thinking it must have been like early 80s, maybe late 70s, early 80s or something like that. Like who he would have been on the show if he had made the show, like who he would have been on the show with.
What actually kind of makes sense considering how he got Chainsaw 2 was from playing a character in a video that he made for it was called like the nail or the, what was it, like the nail polish massacre or something like that.
Nail polish massacre.
It was something like that, like the
that sounds awesome.
Nail file massacre or something like that.
It just gets better. So good. So what he played? It's an actual real thing.
Yeah, like he made that video where he played like the hitchhiker character or something.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm pretty, unless I'm just making shit up. I don't know.
I honestly have no idea what you're talking about, but I'm loving it though. This is great. I got to see this.
Yeah, but I don't know if it still exists or like if you can find it anywhere. But I'm pretty sure that's like how he got noticed.
You're totally making shit up right now. Completely.
I might be. I could be. I don't know.
Man, I really like the artwork on this new Rue Morgue magazine. It's got Rob Zombie on the cover, of course. And again, who we talked about earlier in the show. It's kind of funny how things just kind of, go in circles a little bit. And, there is actually a huge, I guess that kind of makes sense that they had that little morbid fact about Bill Moseley. But there is a whole section in here called Slice 'em Thick. And it's about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 film.
That's cool.
Yeah, really, really cool. So kind of interesting. Yeah, looking forward to reading that. So
I feel like I'm hoping that I didn't make that shit up now, because I
hope you did,
can't
man,
find anything on it right now.
You take so much pride in not spitting out bullshit and non-factual news, things like that. If you just made that up, that is brilliant.
I found it.
Okay, damn it.
Bill Moseley got the part of Chop Top in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 based on a performance he did in a short film called The Texas Chainsaw Manicure, where he
Manicure.
Yeah, and now I remember he essentially played, like, because how Chop Top's very similar to the Hitchhiker because they're brothers. Like, he was playing the version of the Hitchhiker. and he was like doing his like laugh thing, and I guess Toby Hooper's seen that, and he was like, hey, this guy would be great to actually play like a character.
Fuck, that's so awesome. The
So, yeah.
Texas Chainsaw Manicure.
Because that was really
Yeah.
one of his first films, Bill Moseley, was Texas Chainsaw 2 in
Yeah,
86. Before that, I think he only did one thing in 82.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. Wow. I think that's the most we've ever talked about the morbid fact before.
I think so.
That's kind of cool. Yeah. Well, that is going to conclude Mood Swings. Yeah. Alrighty. So getting into the WWW portion of the show. And, well, that's what this whole show is about, isn't it? Yeah. What we watch part three, or what we watch
Volume.
three. Volume 3. Yeah, we use Volume 3. What we watch, Volume 3. And that is simply, well, with the two of us, it's going to be a back and forth review-based thing. And, yeah. So, This is what we've watched, I guess.
Yeah, it's just like an extended version of what we normally do in the What We Watch segment.
Yeah, so basically, with that said, that there is no main review.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those weeks where we're just like, let's just chill and talk about some movies and not have anything specific.
Alrighty, you want to go first?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I watched very recently, a couple nights ago, is one that, man, I'll just say the title first. It's The Crawlers from 1993, also known as Contamination Point 7, also known as Troll 3, directed by Joe D'Amato.
I never fucking Troll 3, man.
Yeah, and Fabrizio Laurenti, and written by Rossello Drude, whatever. He did Troll 2, and this film actually was released as Troll 3 in certain territories, and even Troll 4 in certain territories, which is very interesting because there's not a goddamn troll in this film at all.
I know, that's what I always thought. It was so strange.
Yeah. So, this film, very interesting, man. Do you remember when you were a kid, and I'm pretty sure anybody listening to this who grew up in the 80s or 90s probably had a bunch of these. You had VHS tapes that were recorded off of TV or dubs. They're essentially bootlegs, right? And they were these blank tapes, and you usually had like 3, 4, 5, sometimes even 6 films on one tape. Yeah. And you'd write the names down. So I had Friday the 13th, Part 9, which is Jason Goes to Hell. Oddly enough, I think came out in 93 as well, or 91, not sure. And The Crawlers, as I had it, wasn't called Contamination 7. It was called The Crawlers on one tape. And I would always watch Friday the 13th, and then it would go into The Crawlers. And for years, I had no idea what it was called or what it was or anything. Because, I was probably like 5 at the time of me watching this, and then I lost that tape, or somebody took it or borrowed it or something, and then I never had it again, but I always remembered this movie about like killer roots. And that's my little prelude to this film. So I always wanted to revisit it for years, and when I seen Scream Factory put it out in that all-night marathon pack, I was pretty excited to eventually check it out. Finally made it to that pack, by the way.
I was just gonna say, finally.
I think that pack was released 3 years ago now, and the first film I watched out of there was The Crawlers, and it's called Contamination Point 7 in the Scream Factory release. Basically follows a small town. I believe it's like set in Alaska or something, or that's where it was filmed. I have no idea, but it's like hot. Weirdo, low budget, super cheesy film. Basically, there's this evil corporation of this like nuclear plant that is like hiding all of their radioactive barrels of or drums of radioactiveness like in the dirt around the town, and it's basically turning the forest trees into like roots that are like killing people. They're just it's funny how it works. Like, think Tremors in terms of like underground like crawlers things, but they're just roots, and then they just like puncture people's bodies and drag them and kill them and choke them and stuff. I think the acting in this film is like some of the most atrocious acting I've ever heard in my life, man. The effects are cheesy. The whole film is super cheesy and bad. It's a bad movie, but I honestly love it. Like, I love this movie. It's obviously nostalgia. It's not a good movie, but there's something just charming about it for me, like in the so bad it's good territory, which doesn't surprise me coming from the guy who wrote Troll 2, which is one of the all-time great so bad it's good movies. And what's really cool about this guy, if you watch the Best Worst Movie documentary, is he thinks he's doing a good job. So that, my friends, is the recipe for success in a so bad it's good movie, is for the people to be completely oblivious and try. Because when you don't try, it's just stupid. But when you're trying your hardest and you get a crappy movie, you get stuff like Troll 2 and The Crawlers. And my friends, I really, really like Contamination Point 7, The Crawlers, Troll 3, Troll 4, whatever you want to call it. It's fun. There's some alright kills in there. Ish.
I love the Roots, man. The Roots are fucking awesome.
The Roots actually look pretty good.
Yeah.
Like they look cool. They don't really look like roots, but they look like ropes.
That's probably what they are, man. They're ropes with like wire through them.
Yeah, and they make the
Being
craziest
controlled.
sounds and stuff. Dude, I swear, like the acting from like the sheriff is like the worst ever, but it's so funny.
I know.
And honestly, like the town is just like a bunch of these like weirdo people and stuff. Like it's like a fun little watch. I give it a 4 out of 10. Not a good movie at all, but I really like it.
Yeah, it's super fun, man. I think I remember the music being pretty cool in it too.
Yeah, and there's actually some good POV root shots, like Rootovision, where they're like crawling on the ground and stuff. They actually do like a pretty good job with that stuff. And that's
Yeah.
awful.
It's awesome. I'm glad that you finally got to that though.
Oh yeah.
You know, that 4-pack. That's
I'm
awesome.
curious about like the Dungeon Master and like all the other films in there too, because I haven't.
Well, I mean, if you want, you could probably just skip the Dungeon Master and, you know, wait for. Or do you have the double feature Blu-ray?
Yeah, I have both those other ones that they put out. The Lamb.
Or I actually do suggest watch the, you know, or check out the transfer on the DVD and then pop in the Blu-ray. It's actually pretty good. The Blu-ray transfer is pretty good. All right, so first film up here for me tonight is a film from 2015, released just recently in 2016, and it is a film that I'd heard a little bit about, not so much buzz, but it got my attention because I really like these type of films. They always kind of freak me out a little bit. It's kind of a different type of home invasion film. It's called Intruders. Yeah, this one right here is basically about this girl, Anna. She suffers from agoraphobia, which is, you know, a phobia where you can't leave your house, basically. And she has this kind of errand boy who brings her lunches and food on a regular basis, played by Rory Culkin, of course, Macaulay Culkin's, I think, youngest brother, I believe. And anyways, they have this like relationship, and you know, he comes into the house and they have their conversations and things like that. And she's really screwed up. Like I said, she suffers from agoraphobia. Fuck, that word's hard to say. But you know, so she's stuck in her house. Plus, she's got her brother is dying upstairs, and she's got all these issues and stuff. And she really has no one to confide to except for this, you know, this food delivery boy. Anyways, out of the blue one day, she decides to tell him that she's got like a bunch of money. She wants to give him a bunch of money and stuff because she has all this cash around the house, and she doesn't really know what to do with it. She kind of wants to get rid of the money and kind of start over again and just do whatever. I don't really know where exactly she's going with this. But anyways, she decides that it was a good idea to tell him. Her brother ends up passing away, and, you know, of course, she's supposed to be at the funeral, and, you know, a couple intruders come to her house, break into the house, and of course she's there. And what they don't realize is that she doesn't just suffer from agoraphobia. She's also a little bit fucked in the head, and these guys end up getting trapped inside this house, and now they got to figure out a way to get out, because now the roles are basically reversed in this kind of oddball home invasion film. Now, my thoughts on this one. I really do like the premise of the film. It's got pretty good acting, and I think she does a good job. The problem is with the intruders, or the antagonists in the film, is that they're so fucking cliched, and the dialogue is written so poorly. Like, they have some of the most generic dialogue and lines in this film. Like, there's one line in this film that literally made me piss myself, and he's like, well, she's seen our face. And I was like, oh my God, are you fucking kidding me? I've heard this in like a million fucking films. You couldn't come up with something a little better than that. Give me a break. But yeah, the antagonists in the film, they are so unlikable that they're actually good. You know, you just hate them so much. They're just pieces of shit, right? And of course, you know, Rory Culkin's character, he ends up showing up later in the film and stuff like that. And, you know, and he feels really shitty for what he did. He just, you know, kind of mentioned it in passing, which, you know, there is kind of minor plot holes in the film too. It's like, it's not really, you know, determined that, you know, that maybe he had little more alternative, you know, things going on with why he would tell his brother and, you know, his friends about this money and things like that, of course. But, you know, ultimately the film is pretty entertaining. There, like I said, there is minor plot holes in the film that are kind of like, well, you can probably kind of disconnect yourself from that at, you know, at points in the film and kind of enjoy it for what it is. But at the same time, it's like the whole storyline is a little unbelievable. And the whole third act and the way the resolution in the film kind of goes down, I'm just like, I can't see it ever happening. It's just too unbelievable that, you know, agoraphobia person that suffers from agoraphobia this is how it would go down and things like that. So I don't know, man. There was times in the film that I was really enjoying. You know, at least the acting was good. But it's just so unbelievable that I don't know. It's kind of weird. I'm kind of conflicted on how I fully feel about this film. I do like what was going on and things like that, but overall, I think it's actually pretty decent when it comes down to it. But I do recommend this film for, you know, for a definitely one-time watch anyways. But like I said, though, you just kind of have to kind of disconnect yourself towards the end of the film. But you know, it is what it is. I give it about a 6.5 out of 10. It's a pretty well made film. I think the cinematography inside the house is actually pretty well executed. There's a lot of really good scenes of, like, you know, kind of panning shots and things like that and stuff. But yeah, I just wish they had wrote the characters a little bit better in this film and kind of filled in the holes. But, you know, it is what it is. It's, you know, this isn't the most original idea for a film. We've seen these type of reversed home invasion films before, and I think they've worked a little better in the past. But, you know, all in all, not a bad film. Couple decent kills, not so much gore and blood, a little bit, things like that. Not a bad film. I do recommend it, though.
All right. I think Jason just reviewed that one, Jason Lloyd. I haven't heard that show yet, but I always like the agoraphobia idea, but it doesn't feel like it's executed ever super good.
Well, the problem is with that whole idea of agoraphobia is how what your resolution is gonna come to.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, if you can't just stay, I mean, I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but I think the way that the whole film kind of, you know, the resolution to it is, it's just kind of unbelievable a little bit. You know, I just can't see it happening. I mean, if you suffer that hard from that disease, yeah, chances are it's really not going to go down the way it is, but it is what it is, man. I'm curious to hear what he says on the film, but I don't know, man. There was points in this film that just really were kind of irritating me with the characters. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? You are so unbelievably an asshole that it's just I don't know, man. I don't know, but it was okay though. It was okay.
All right. This next one that I'm going to cover, I'm not going to go into it too much because it still is relatively new, but it is a film that was released festively in 2015, got its media release in 2016, and that is Kill or Be Killed. This is a Western horror-ish film coming hot off the heels of Bone Tomahawk of last year, RLJ Entertainment. I think it's a company owned by Image Entertainment or a partner company. They released Kill or Be Killed. And first thing I thought was, okay, this is obviously the success of Bone Tomahawk. They hurry up and quickly made another Western horror film. But from what I read online, this was actually in production before Bone Tomahawk, because one of the things that I thought initially when I watched it is like, oh, it's going to be like just a cash-in rip-off type thing by the same company, because that's the same company that released Bone Tomahawk. but it was in production first, so I can't make that comparison. It follows an outlaw named Claude who has a crew of people, and he wants to put a retirement plan in action by attempting to lead his gang across Texas to recover cash, a bunch of gold and money and stuff that was hidden away from a botched railroad heist. This one I did enjoy. I thought it was pretty good. I did think it was a little bit too long. It's an hour and 43 minutes. I easily think you could have made it 90 minutes. You spend a lot of time with the characters interacting with each other. It's kind of a slow film. Not much horror in it. It definitely feels more Western, much like Bone Tomahawk did. But I did like the characters. For such a low budget, the landscapes, the scenes of the period piece nature of it, very effective, very very well executed there. There's like one character who was like a younger kid who had this little dummy who reminded me of Slappy from the Goosebumps series, and there's some moments of gore actually, which I was like, all right, like amputated type shit and stuff like that. And there's one scene where there's like a hole in a body part, and it's actually pretty gory and looks pretty good. One thing that I thought was pretty interesting is it does have a few familiar faces in horror, and I only noticed one of them until afterwards, looking at some of the cast and stuff on IMDb. Michael Berryman was the one I noticed, plays a pretty cool character.
He's kind of hard to miss though, right?
Yeah, right, and he's not in it that much. And then two other people that I didn't expect or didn't notice, never would have noticed. Edwin Neal, who played the hitchhiker, has a little role in this film from Texas Chainsaw 1. And then another Texas Chainsaw alum, Bill Johnson, who played Leatherface in Chainsaw.
Did you just say alum?
Yeah.
You've been hanging with the chick from work too much, man. Shorten up your words there.
Yeah. Well, I think people do use that word.
Really? Maybe.
Bill Johnson, who played Leatherface in Chainsaw 2, is in this film, so that's pretty cool. Overall, I thought it was decent. I kept thinking of Bone Tomahawk because it's from the same company and stuff, and it's nowhere near as powerful and as good as that, but I shouldn't really compare it. It's a solid Western with some horror elements. It definitely is. For a low budget one like that, I enjoyed it. I give it a 7 out of 10.
Is it like on the same type of level for like cinematography?
No, it has decent cinematography, but not as good as Bone Tomahawk.
Like, how's the locations in it though? Like, does it look pretty? Like Bone Tomahawk.
Yeah, because they travel a lot and stuff too. Like the locations are all good. I think that's one of the high points of the film.
Yeah.
Like it really feels like, like it was made in the 1900s. It was set in the 1900s.
Yeah.
It really has that feel.
Yeah, as long as it has that like authentic type feel to it, and that look. Those type of films usually do work for me. It's kind of like a make or break thing, when you're watching those type of films. If it doesn't feel like authentic, it's just like, no, not working at all. No matter how good the story is or whatever, it's like, it's not working.
Yeah, I think people will enjoy it. It's not going to make a splash like Bone Tomahawk did, but people will enjoy it.
Yeah, that's good. Cool. Alrighty, so next up here for me is a release by Scream Factory. And I'd actually heard a little bit of buzz about this one too. And, it's one of those things where I was like, are you kidding me, man? Every fucking year, we always have multiple films come out in the same year with the same name. And I'm just like,
it's ridiculous.
How does this happen every year? Like, I don't know, man. I can't really think of too many examples right now, but there's always films that come out with the same name. And I'm just like, how does this happen consistently?
From 2013.
Wasn't there 3 films that year or something? Like 2 or 3, I don't know.
Yeah, and then Final Girls from last year.
Final Girls, yeah. And this year, of course, it's The Boy. And so Scream Factory put out this film while I believe The Boy, the other one, was in theaters, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, and this one right here is a chiller film, so made for TV type film, which I have to say, man, the production value on this film is, it's definitely low budget, but it's shot really, really well. It's kind of cool actually to see. Starring David Morse and Rainn Wilson's in this film also. It's basically about it's pretty much a character study of this 9-year-old boy. it takes place like in the late 80s. It's about him and his father. The mom is split. His father owns a kind of like a mountaintop motel, and at one time this mountaintop motel used to be a like a really big tourist attraction for people because it's on top of the mountain, and people used to drive up there and stay there for the views. His father owned it, and he passed it down, and eventually David Morse's character was going to pass it down to his boy too, and things like that. But now the thing is, business is super super slow. Everyone's kind of, it's the 80s now. Nobody's like willing to drive out to certain places just for views and things like that, so they're really suffering, and it shows really well. Like, I think just the acting in this film just really portrays their misery so well. I think that David Morse does a great job. He's just so down on his luck, but he keeps it really positive. It's kind of interesting, but it reflects on the little boy in this film like a ton. It's, his little boy's name is Ted. He's 9 years old, and he sees it, man. He sees his dad having such a rough time and things like that. And, he has no friends. There's no one around to associate with. Now, the thing with this boy is that it's a really realistic character study of this boy, because honest to God, like if you put yourself into this situation where, you're at this motel just with your father, there's no one around, curiosity is probably going to get the best of you. And that's what happens to this boy. He becomes fascinated with death a little bit. At first he starts just collecting, roadkill on the roads, and he'd bring it to his dad, and his dad would give him a quarter out of the register and things like that. But then he wants to kind of get more into it. And, he kind of elevates to the point where he starts baiting animals onto the road, and, hence a deer. And, and which leads me into Rainn Wilson's character, where he baits his deer. Rainn Wilson's character hits his deer in a car and kind of totals his car, and ends up having to stay with the family, or with the boy and his father in this motel, which he becomes friends with him because he's there for a little bit and things like that. And that's where your film kind of takes off. And like I said, this one right here is a character study, and it's executed brilliantly. I think it's really executed awesomely. I love the setting in this film. The cinematography is amazing, but the acting, the atmosphere, even the music in this is just great. But it's portrayed so honest. It's such an honest feeling film, because like I said before, if you put yourself into this little kid's situation, he's 9 years old, he's very curious about everything in life, and he just wants to be around people. The curiosities are probably going to get the best of you, and that's really what this is. Like I said, he befriends this really kind of odd character played by Rainn Wilson, and you can tell that there's something up with this character. And the little boy learns things about him. He's got ears, he listens to things, he sees things, and he kind of uses what Rainn Wilson has gone through to his advantage, which leads into the second half of the film. Very, very cool film. I really like these character studies. Now, when I first went into this film, I was thinking like this is going to be some kind of weird, kind of little kid slasher type film. I didn't really know anything that was going into it, but no, it's completely not like that. It's a slow burn type film that is very intriguing. All you want to do is just see how this is going to resolve. You want to see the resolution in this film. And I think it's executed really well. It's really well done. Music's great. Like I said, it takes place in the 80s. So you got 80s music and things like that, but very interesting film of how it just goes down. I really enjoyed it. I was never bored for a second in this one. I thought it was great performances. I think the little boy did a great job. It just, you can see the looks on his face. I mean, I know he's a kid, but it's really crazy to see how you can just see the desperation in his face, and the loneliness in his face. And he does such a great job. David Morse, awesome as the father in this. He does such a great job. There's other things that go on in the film. I'm not going to give too much away, because it's one of those type of films that you can kind of explain right through. Very strange, but all I'll say, it's a slow burn character study of this boy. Fantastic film. I think it's really, really good. I think everyone needs to check it out. And it's kind of a sleeper hit. I think it's going to be a sleeper hit, because I don't think a lot of people are going to check this out unless you hear this and you like what you hear. But I don't really want to give anything else away about it, and I'm going to give it about an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed this film. I think it was fantastic. Definitely one of the better, Scream Factory chiller films that be put out by them. It's awesome. I couldn't recommend it enough.
Wow, that's surprising, honestly, because I thought that the cover looked like the Cub kind of, and I wasn't really, or Cub rather, for more exploitation. I wasn't really too interested, but now I am. Thanks.
Yeah, dude, it's not what I would honestly. I was kind of thinking the same thing. I was thinking like this killer kid film. Like, okay, The Boy. It's completely different, man. You get into the head of them, and you really kind of you start to associate. Just kind of you develop this relationship with him in the film as you're watching. You're like, I can totally understand why this kid is acting and doing what he is doing, because he is fucking bored. He's a mess. His mother left his father for a trucker, and went off to Florida and stuff. And he's fucked up, man. He's messed up, and it's a good film, man. Really, really good. I think I know for a fact this is one that no one's going to end up seeing this year, which is a shame. It's
cool.
Good.
All right, so next up for me, I was working my way through the Vincent Price Collection Volume 1, which is now long out of print. Look on my YouTube channel coming up here in the next couple days. I'm going to have a kind of breakdown of the set and what I think it's worth and shit like that. But one of the last films I had to check out in there was the Abominable Dr. Phibes from 1971. This film is probably the second best in the set, next to Witchfinder General. And it's really cool because it's kind of this bizarre mixture of sort of vibes, and it follows a guy played by Vincent Price who's really pissed off that his wife has died, and he kind of places the blame on 9 doctors who perform different various surgeries and things like that. He thinks that it's their fault that she died, so he's getting his revenge by sort of taking his interpretation of the 9 plagues of biblical plagues, of Egypt and shit. I'm not really well versed in my biblical knowledge, but I think that's kind of what it is. So they changed some of the plagues, because I did go on Wikipedia and look at what the actual plagues were and stuff like that. It's boils, bats. Bats was not one of the plagues. Bees, which wasn't one of the plagues, I don't think. Frogs, all kind of stuff. And it's basically you follow him killing each one of these doctors, and then a detective who's trying to stop him and figure out who he is. Really, really fun movie, honestly. I love the almost Jigsaw-esque nature of it, where he's killing these people in these weird ways because they did wrong or whatever in his eyes. But it also has this layer of black comedy to it, this very dry British humor as well. I mean, the detective is very Britishy and funny. But I was actually a little surprised with this one, because it opens up with this weird scene where he's playing an organ, and I just instantly wasn't really feeling it. I almost thought it was gonna be a musical or something weird like that. But it turned out to be pretty damn good. Even some of the scenes of death are a little brutal, I mean, I guess it was 71, so it was starting to get, the violence was starting to amp up with the stuff over in England with Hammer horror and stuff like that. But it's a pretty solid little movie there, and I wasn't expecting it to be as solid as it was, simply because it didn't really seem like my cup of tea necessarily. Vincent Price's character is a little more reserved in this one. I don't even think he talks really. But yeah, pretty cool. I enjoyed it. I give that one a 7 out of 10.
Nice.
You like Dr. Phibes?
Yeah, man, I love Dr. Phibes, man. It's great. Honestly, man, the sequel's great too, man.
Yeah,
Really
I
good stuff.
probably will get to that when I get to the next Vincent Price set. Isn't it in one of the other sets?
Is it in the second one?
I think
can't even remember.
I think
can't remember if it is. Yeah, I think it is actually.
Yeah, it took me forever to finally make my way through that set. I listened to every commentary, watched all the features and the movies. There's so much content in that set, but a little spoiler alert for my review. some of it isn't that worthwhile. The special features and shit.
No, that sucks.
Some of it's good, but some of it isn't.
Shit. Alrighty. So, getting into my next one here. This one is, of course, coming from Scream Factory once again. It is directed by Bruce McDonald, a Canadian director who directed Pontypool, which is a film that I've talked highly about many, many times. So I was really, really intrigued to check out this follow-up film called Hellions. And I was, really surprised actually that Scream Factory released this one. I don't know why I was. I don't know. It's just, I guess not really, because wasn't Pontypool was actually released by IFC, wasn't it? It was actually. It was released by IFC. So yeah, this is an IFC release and Scream Factory. But, going into this film, I didn't really know what to expect because I had heard so many mixed opinions on this one, mostly negative. Everyone's saying it was very disappointing. And, that really just makes me want to watch it more when there's more negative, reviews about a film, because I'm thinking to myself going, it looks cool. So, basically this one right here is about a girl named Dora. Beginning of the film, she finds out that she's actually pregnant. And, so it's Halloween night. And she's waiting for her boyfriend to come pick her up. And she's trying to figure out a way that she's basically going to break this news to him. I don't know why she would decide to tell him on Halloween if you're going to go to a big Halloween party. But anyways, she's trying to figure out a way to kind of break the news to him that, they're going to have a baby. And her parents, she lives with her parents, obviously. She's still a teenager. And her parents are gone. And she's waiting for her boyfriend to pick him up. Anyways, it's Halloween. Kids start coming to the door, trick-or-treating. And it's like these really fucking weird kids start showing up at her house. She kind of lives like in this, I would say like almost in the country, like in an isolated type area. So the kids that start showing up at her house, it's very, very strange. And they are very, very reminiscent of Sam from Trick or Treat. Like, I won't lie. Like when she first opens up the door, when the first kids come to the door and you see these costumes, they look identical to Sam from
Sam's costume was sort of based on like early like Great Depression era Halloween costumes, from what
it kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense because with the potato sack on the head and things like that, I guess it kind of makes sense, use what you can, right? But anyways, so these kids start coming to the door and they're very kind of creepy, they're not saying trick or treat or whatever. So she gives these kids the candy, they take off, come back, and they just start harassing her. She kind of starts freaking out. She's phoning her boyfriend, things like that. And no answer. Doorbell rings again. She opens up the door. And yeah, they've basically got a sack with her boyfriend's head in there. Now she knows it's for real. These kids aren't fucking around. And they won't leave her alone because they want something from her. And yeah, so that's basically her film. So now she's got to figure out exactly what the fuck these kids want from her and why they're harassing her. And there's a cop in the film played by Robert Patrick who, essentially...
You said phoning, by the way. Just pointing that out.
Phoning? Okay. anyways, so the secondary main character in the film is Robert Patrick. Anyways, they kind of team up against these kids because these kids are fucking completely psychotic. And yeah, it's just them trying to figure out a way out of this fucking mess. Now the storyline is pretty basic. It's a bunch of kids basically harassing shit at her. They want something from her. The thing that I liked about this film is that it is set on Halloween, but at least this movie actually had a really good Halloween look and feel and setting to it.
Damn it. That means I'm not watching it till October.
Man, I was really impressed with this because honestly, right from the get-go of the film, it has nothing but Halloween decorations. The house is fantastic. They really get into it, man. They must have had like 30 carved pumpkins on the porch and all through the lawn and stuff. It was just Halloween galore. It really had that feel to it, and it really did feel like Halloween. It was awesome. Great atmosphere. It was kind of slow and downplayed and stuff. I really kind of liked it. The first half of the film is really crazy, because it's just kind of a lot of developments, kind of very kind of slow, what's going on. And then when the shit kind of goes down, I think that's where the film kind of suffers quite a bit, because there is really, really big plot holes in the film. I shouldn't say like huge plot holes, but there is minor plot holes. And I think this is the reason why people kind of shit on the film a little bit. I think I've heard, some people say that they really like the look and feel of the film, but then the second half of the film kind of tails off and it just goes absolutely nowhere, blah, blah, blah. Well, the thing is, I do agree with that a little bit. I think that if you're looking for like some absolute resolution in this, you're probably not going to get it. It is a little ambiguous to a point. But I do think that there is something there. I don't think it's completely outrageous. I mean, obviously the story, what it is a little crazy, but I think it's kind of cool. I think it's actually really cool what Hellions are and what they're looking for and what they're trying to do and things like that. I kind of like it. I think if you dig deeper into the story, and kind of, look beyond the visuals, which are so fantastic in this. I think, like I said, the cinematography, the visuals, everything about it, atmosphere looks awesome. I think the acting's great. I think Robert Patrick is great in this. The lead character, played by, not even sure what her name is, but I think she does a great job too. So they're selling it quite well. Like, she is fucking terrified in this. Really good. And the kids are creepy, obviously, because they kind of look like Sam. If you can just picture Sam, then that's what you're going to get. But yeah, I do think that there is minor problems in the second half of this film that definitely plague this film. But I think if you can kind of get away from that, I think it's a decent watch. And I'm actually looking forward to checking this out again, because maybe I can dig deeper and kind of figure out something else that, maybe I missed the first time and stuff. Because I think most people that are watching and reviewing this film have only seen it once, like myself. So who knows? Maybe there is something there. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. But I think there is problems with the resolution in this. And but overall, I think it's a visual treat. I think it's good. Yeah,
visual treat. Good choice of words.
Yeah, and maybe it's one of those cases where it's more style over substance. I don't know. Be your own judge when you check it out. But I think there is something here, and I think it's really good. I think it's actually pretty good. I mean, it's not a masterpiece by any means, but there's a lot of Halloween films that have come out in the last few years that really don't feel like Halloween films. How many Halloween films have you seen, or films that are based on Halloween? I shouldn't say Halloween films, based on, or that were based, on Halloween night, that didn't really feel like Halloween. You've probably seen a few, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. This one totally feels like it. It's great. So that's a big plus. Minor problems. Definitely worth the watch. I mean, you can pick this one up for super cheap. So, give it a shot. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I actually really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to checking it out again.
Cool. 7 out of 10. That's.
I'm just saying, fuck the haters. I don't understand why everyone's tripping balls in this, saying it was terrible. Not terrible is such a terrible word to describe this film. It might be confusing. It might be confusing a little bit, but it's not terrible.
All right. So next up for me. So I've been doing a thing lately where I've been checking out horror films that hit the theaters, which, before I seen The Witch, I think it was 2013 was the last time I went to see a movie in the theater, and that was the Evil Dead remake. So really, really cool to kind of be back, and I'm really enjoying it. So a couple weeks ago, I went and seen The Witch, and last week I went and seen 10 Cloverfield Lane from 2016. So this is J.J. Abrams produced, kind of linked to Cloverfield. It was marketed as. Whether it is or not, I'm not going to spoil things, and I'll let you decide that for your own. I'll keep this one very spoiler-free, guys. Basically, it follows a young woman who, at the opening of the film, we see that she is leaving her husband. She leaves her wedding ring on the counter, and she packs up a bag and hops in the car and takes off. She's messing with her phone as her husband's trying to call her, please come back, we can work this out, that type of thing. And all of a sudden, boom, her car gets smashed by another car. She wakes up chained to a pipe, and John Goodman, who is awesome, by the way. I love John Goodman and Roseanne and Red State, Big Lebowski. I mean, dude is so underutilized in Hollywood.
I've said it for years. He's one of my favorite actors, actually.
Yeah, he plays a character who comes down, and she immediately attacks him because she's chained to a pipe in a basement, and it's kind of weird. And he eventually calms her down, and he explains to her that there was an attack, and the attack, whether it was from Russia or another country or from the skies being aliens, which obviously right away makes you sound like a kook. And she immediately thinks that he's lying, that he kidnapped her, and that he's trying to tell her that, there's been an attack. We're in a bomb shelter right now. There's been a fallout, and he's one of those doomsday preppers. As you get to know his character, you learn that he's been preparing for this for a long time. Obviously, as a bomb shelter, it's all kind of laid out and stuff. Then we're kind of introduced to another character who's in the bomb shelter, and she explains to him, like, hey, this guy's no good. Like, he kidnapped me. And he's like, no, I helped him build this. As soon as I seen an attack, and I ran to the safest place I thought, which was this bomb shelter. So then there becomes this very interesting dynamic where you're like, okay, is this guy lying too? Is John Goodman lying at all? Is this chick just reading too much into it? Is there really an attack? What's going on upstairs? There's all kind of different clues and keys to different plot twists, or not really plot twists, but different ways that the plot could go. And you're trying to figure it out the whole time. You're playing guessing games because they keep it very secretive, obviously, until reveals happen. And it might surprise you what actually happens in the film, and it might not, depending on which way you lean. So one thing I really liked was John Goodman's performance. He is awesome. He plays this character perfect because as an audience, you're not supposed to know whether he is telling the truth or not. And he does a good job of playing both sides, if you will, where you can see both points and you can see weird things about him. But hey, he might just be a weird guy. I mean, you have to be a weird guy to make a bomb shelter, right? But then again, it's like, well, he's a little really weird, so you would have to be crazy and possibly a kidnapping psychopath. So you really don't know, and it's fun to find out what the answer is. I love the setting of the film. We spend nearly the whole film in the bomb shelter. It's cool laid out. There's some things that happen, montage scenes, different things going on that's really well done. Cool music and stuff like that. And then to me, it kind of, I'm not going to say much, but I felt like when we get to the end, people were doing things that I don't think they could have been doing, kind of over the top-ish. And that was kind of really hurt my rating, the whole end of the film. And I won't really say what happened, obviously, but it ended up being probably about an 8.5 and dropping clear down to a 7. So I give this one a 7 out of 10. I like The Witch a little bit more. For those of you who missed my Witch review, it is on the last volume of Mini Shots and on my YouTube channel.
That affected it that much?
Yeah. The people I went with liked it more than The Witch. I like The Witch more than this.
Crazy.
It's still worth seeing.
I know.
It's a fun movie. 7 out of 10 is a good rating.
Yeah, I was contemplating, man. We actually have it in town right now. Of course, we never got The Witch, but so I'm still bummed out about that.
The one thing that, because I've been forced, we don't watch trailers, obviously, Moodz, but I've been forced to watch some lately when I go see the movies in the theater.
Yeah.
And one of the trailers that looks super sick is The Green Room. And I'm hoping my town gets it because it looks really, really cool. It looks super fun.
Yeah, that one. I think we talked about that in the year-end show, didn't we? The Green Room. I think it got brought up.
Yeah, I think it has to do with well,
I shouldn't say it looked cool. I haven't seen anything, but I just heard about it.
Yeah, I think it has to do with the band who's playing who goes to play at this show, and it turns out that it's like a Nazi show. Like it's all like neo-Nazis, and like shit goes down basically.
Yeah, man, that was the one that I heard on the Killer POV podcast, and they were talking it up, and it just man, the way they described it, I was like, that sounds so awesome, and they even said like it was amazing. So yeah, I'm stoked to check that out, man. It's awesome. So what was the rating? 7 out of 10 on that one? All right, so next one up for me is again from Scream Factory.
Whoa, you're killing it. Is it Necropolis?
No, mine hasn't shipped yet. It's fucking Fucking yeah. This one right here is a film I hadn't seen in years, man. I have the DVD. I believe I didn't even watch my copy. I think it's still sealed. I swear to God. So, late 90s film starring a lot of, big faces at the time, studio film. Disturbing Behavior. I thought I got it in the mail and I was just like, you know what? I'm going to fucking watch it right now. I just hadn't seen it in years and I was like, okay, got to check it out. Of course, starring James Marsden, Katie Holmes, Nick Stahl in this one. We all know the faces. We all know the names. And it's funny because I remember watching this film when it first came out and really, really enjoying it. Like really enjoyed it. So I was like, well, I haven't seen it, I swear to God, since 98. So let's see how I like it now. So the premise of the film is basically about James Marsden's character. He's from Chicago. His brother is like just recently committed suicide. So his family decides to move from Chicago to, I believe, like a little bay in Washington. So to kind of get away from everything, just kind of leave that whole scene behind. Anyways, so upon getting into this new school in Cradle Bay is where it is. He gets introduced to, of course, Katie Holmes' character and Nick Stahl, and he becomes friends with them a little bit. And the thing with Nick Stahl is that he's like, he knows everything about everybody at the school and stuff. And there's actually this really interesting scene where they're in the cafeteria and it's so high school and it's actually executed quite well because it's so, I can just imagine going to a new school and meeting someone like this and having him describe how everyone in the school is part of this certain type of crew. Like, hey, we got our skaters over here. We've got our nerds. We've got our jocks. And of course he goes, lastly, he explains about the Blue Ribbons. And it's like this group of people that they do everything together. They're kind of like this weird, like this posse that just doesn't let each other's hand go, Anyways, Blue Ribbons, they're the guys that wear the leather jackets. They're all perfect. They're all straight A's and things like that. They all help each other out and stuff. But the thing is with this Blue Ribbon crew is that they're just almost too perfect. They're kind of strange, things like that. Nick Stahl's character.
Would you say their behavior is a little disturbing?
It's a little disturbing. Yeah, it's to the point where it's like, okay, there's got to be something fucking wrong with this. But anyways, Nick Stahl's character, his name is Gavin in the film. He actually witnesses something. He's like on top of this mountain. He sees something go down. Somebody gets killed, and the cop does nothing about it. And the cop is actually played by Steve Railsback, which is totally awesome. I love Steve Railsback. He's been brought up on the podcast a lot lately, man. The guy's a great actor. He plays the officer in the film. And he's like, what the fuck? He's like, that makes no sense. Anyways, what went down in the scene was involving this guy from this Blue Ribbons. So anyways, he proceeds to tell, Steve, played by James Marsden, about what happened and stuff. And he's like, I don't fucking believe that, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, one thing leads to another. And, he starts to realize that maybe something is up with this crew called the Blue Ribbons. They're acting really fucking strange. People are being kind of recruited. And that's essentially what happens in the film. Nick Stahl's character gets recruited. And then shit kind of goes apeshit in the film. So now my thoughts on this one. Honestly, I really enjoyed it. I was, I remember when Scream Factory first announced this, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Really? They're going to release this bullshit. But, it's a fun film, man. I think it's executed pretty cool. I think the ending is just outrageously hilarious. I had completely forgot how fucking funny the ending in this film is. It's like, it's one of those endings where it's so utterly ridiculous that you can't help, but it stuck with me for days. I watched this like, I don't know, 5-6 days ago. I've thought about it, I swear to God, every day. It's just so ridiculous how the ending goes down in this one. But I do like the film, man. But it's one of those films where it's so of the times. It's very popular rise. It just feels like a popular film. You got all these big faces. You got this, very kind of not generic radio rock music, but, bands of the time that, the music is very recognizable.
I actually like that time now. Like I didn't at the time, but like now, like I look back on it like kind of fondly.
Yeah. And oddly enough, this one doesn't even feel that dated, even though it's 98. The pants are still a little high. I don't know, man. It actually still kind of feels, kind of real modern. You know what I'm saying?
Those 90s girls were sexy though. Come on.
Oh yeah. Well, Katie Holmes, I swear to God, this is like her. This is probably like the sexiest she's ever looked in a film. I swear to God, she kind of plays like this oddball goth chick that you don't really know if she's like slutty or if she's just a bitch, or like kind of like her character, man. But no, overall the film is it's kind of interesting. I like the paranoia in it. I think the acting is actually pretty good. I think Katie Holmes, this is probably one of her best roles I think I've ever seen her in. It's not like I'm really going out of my way to watch Katie Holmes films anyways. Nick Stahl's great in the film. But yeah, there's some really, kind of interesting tense moments with the blue ribbons and, fights and things that are going on. But I think the one character in this film that kind of steals it is the he's I guess he's kind of like the janitor of the school or whatever the fuck he is. This guy is basically at war with rats. He's like he's the guy that like doesn't really live in the basement, but he works down there, and and that's where Nick Stahl's character, he goes down there to like think and stuff like that in the bottom of the school, and just this character, he's so fucking strange. He's like the biggest dork ever. He's got these big thick Coke bottle glasses. He's at war. He talks with a lisp. He's like sounds crazy. He's at war with rats. I don't know. I just love that character, man. Just it kind of fits into the weirdness of the film and stuff like that. But honestly, I don't think this movie would be that great without that ridiculously awesome ending. I love the way it goes down. Even the wife started laughing. We were watching this and she started laughing. She's like, that's so funny. That's the way it goes down. I don't know. There's something about it. I don't know why they wrote it. I believe there's actually an alternate ending on here, which I intended to watch. The film ended, started bullshit with her, totally forgot to watch the alternate ending. I've never seen it, so but yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see what they did. If it's completely opposite of what they actually went down in this film, it'd be pretty funny. But overall, not a bad film. I think it's definitely worth the watch. Transfer's good. Not really a lot of special features on this Blu-ray at all. Like I said, there's an alternate ending, deleted scenes, and there's a commentary too, which I believe these are ported over from the DVD. I'm pretty sure that these are the exact same features, if I remember correctly. But enjoyable film, 7 out of 10.
All right, cool.
I like it, man. It's fun.
Cool. I have one more here, Moodz, that I wanted to get to, so I'll be quick with this one. But we have Leprechaun Origins 2014. So,
oh no way!
I was the guy that said that Leprechaun Origins wouldn't suck. Now, the moment that y'all waited so long for is now. I'm gonna tell you if it sucked. And I tried to get Moodz to do this one for St. Patrick's Day. Unfortunately, like our schedules, he went on vacation. We didn't do it before. We ended up fucking that up. But I decided to watch it anyway on St. Patrick's Day, along with Leprechaun 2 and 3. So I really went leapt out. I had that Blu-ray set. I was transfers are good. I was pretty into it, man. And Leprechaun Origins. I said it wouldn't suck, and did it? No, it actually didn't. And was it good? Not really. So this one follows a group of college-age students who go to Ireland to kind of sightsee. They stop at this bar, and there's this guy who's like, oh, I could tell you're a history buff, talking to the lead girl. Well, if you're a history buff, I know a place you definitely want to check out. It's like this old, like, Celtic, or not Celtic, but I don't know, whatever. It's old and shit, and it's like stones or something. And he basically takes them out to one of his, like, guest houses, and essentially, not spoiling too much because it happens in, like, the first, beginning of the film, he leads them out there to kind of be, like, sacrificed, I guess, to the leprechaun of the town and things like that, because he's angry. If you would watch this as a Leprechaun sequel, it's awful, because it's not. This leprechaun is like an animal almost. But if you just take it as like a creature feature, has nothing to do with the Leprechaun world, it's not that bad. It's essentially just a creature feature. I was hoping and praying that they tied it into the original somehow, because I thought this might have been like a prequel or something, but I did not see any way that they tied it into the original or any of the other films, unless I missed it. One of the things that the big deal about Hornswoggle playing the Leprechaun is completely pointless, because it literally could have been CGI or anybody in the costume, and it wouldn't have made a difference, because it's not like it doesn't talk. It's not like a like humanoid character. It's like an animalistic type of deal. And one of the things that I cannot stand, and this like severely hurts the film for me, is they do this effect, and I've seen it done in other films. There's a werewolf film called The Feeding that I've seen it done in. Whenever the leprechaun is on screen, they use like a warped filter or like a like CG type of like spooky type thing, and it all it is to hide bad effects. That at the end of the day, it's a stylistic choice to hide bad effects. I think so. I don't see any other reason, because it does not work. It just makes it look like foggy or like blurred. Like, you know, it's like a blur effect. And it's supposed to make it look like supernatural or you know, like super powered or something, but really it just makes it look like you're hiding bad effects. So you never get like clear looks at this thing, which is so frustrating to me. The location is really good, and some of the characters, such as the guy that leads them to this little house, really cool character there. And I honestly didn't find like the teenagers or like the young adults to be that annoying either. It's very basic. It's by the numbers. Nothing special about it at all. The only thing that I'll say that makes it slightly above average is some of the shots. There's like helicopter shots and shit like that actually look pretty good and set up the location pretty well. One of the things that really bugged me also was the film ends and then there's like, I swear to God, like a 15-minute credit sequence. And it's like a flash of credits, and then it's like a gold tinted like there's like gold and like it like just these like shots of like this stuff, and I was like, oh, this is how they're gonna tie it into the original. Like they're gonna do something here in this like 15 minutes where they're like cutting between credits and like footage of the film. But it's literally, unless I missed something, it's like nothing. It's completely pointless. So I watched all those credits for freaking nothing. Overall, it's slightly above average at a 5.5 out of 10. It's not a bad little creature feature. I give it slightly above average based on those shots in the film. Very by the numbers and basic. It's not a Leprechaun movie, at least not the Leprechaun movie that we know. But is it the worst Leprechaun film? No, it's actually not, which is saying something.
So it's better than the space one, part 4?
Yeah, you might have more fun with the space one. It's like, it's so bad it's good, but it's definitely a better made movie. That's for damn sure.
I actually don't even find part 4 so bad it's good at all.
I know you don't.
I just hate that. It's terrible. This is not good. So I'm a little surprised, man. You were coming in, you know, above 5 on that one.
Have you seen it?
No, I still haven't seen it. I'm just surprised.
It's another one of those films that everybody fucking hates, and they're like overly harsh on it simply because it's a sequel in a franchise that, honestly, guys, have you seen Leprechaun? It's not that good. I love it. It's one of my favorite franchises, but it's not good. They're terribly acted. They're, you know, make no sense, and they're ridiculous and punny.
Yeah.
Like, don't be offended that they made a Leprechaun movie that is like more. It's a completely serious movie, if that counts for anything. Like, it's not like jokey at all.
That's actually one thing I've heard about it.
Yeah, it's just not as bad as everybody says. It's like, it's an average. If it came out and was just called like Origins or something, and like the Leprechaun was just some beast in the woods.
Can you imagine how bad that title would be?
Yeah,
just called Origins.
You know, like if it was called Beast in the Woods or something like that, you know, like people would be like, oh yeah, it's like one of those Walmart titles that you pick up for like $7 or $10, and it's like kind of throwaway, but it's not that bad. That's what this is. So yeah. 5.5 out of 10.
Nice. Alrighty, so last up for me here is the newly released, still can't even believe this movie got this type of release, but from Arrow Films, from 1984, The Mutilator. It just fucking blows my mind that these movies are getting these type of releases, man. Is crazy to me, man. Crazy. Yeah, this is really amazing.
Is this the one you did in your marathon with Dylan?
Yeah. This is we're gonna have a good time.
That was like the highlight of the marathon for me, and like I was like, oh, like that's like the one movie I want to check out, like out of all of those.
That's definitely one thing about this movie that's very interesting and kind of separates itself from a lot of slasher films, well, of all time, really. It has this really kind of oddball soundtrack. Like, you don't hear music like that in slasher films. It's just like this really kind of upbeat and happy music. You're just like, what the fuck? But it actually does work, though. It really does. It's kind of strange because, well, yeah. Basically, the plot of this one is the movie starts out with Ed Jr. You know, he's a little kid and his dad is at work and it's his dad's birthday and he wants to please his dad. So he's cleaning his dad's gun in the kitchen, of course. And unfortunately it goes off and he ends up shooting his mom and killing her. Anyways, his dad comes home, you know, and it's this really oddball fucking scene. He kind of pulls up his wife and she's dead. And, you know, he just takes a big swig of his whiskey and he tries to feed her some whiskey. It's like really fucking strange. I absolutely love the scene. It's just so oddball. The first time I watched it, I never really, you know, I was like, okay. But now the more I watch it, I'm just like, that scene is so strange. But anyways, it jumps to the present time. And which is, I believe, 10, 15 years later, something like that, whatever. Anyways, his father gives, you know, Ed Jr., his son, a call, and he basically says, you know, I need you to go and lock up the summer vacation house for the winter time. So he takes it as, great, you know, I'll go and do that. Calls up the buddies, let's go do this. You know, let's go drink some beers, you know, R&R session and stuff like that. So they head out to the cabin where they start getting picked off one by one, of course, in various fashions. Now my thoughts on this film. Yeah, getting back to the soundtrack, this movie opens up and it just has this really oddball happy feel to it. And you're just like, where did this soundtrack come from? Like, whoever thought that this was going to be a good idea, you know, just amazes me because I bet you a lot of people even look at the music and go, what the fuck? But I think it's brilliant. I think it really does work. But, you know, overall, The Mutilator is a very, very average slasher film, but it's super entertaining. Now, the one thing about this movie that I find plagues it is the pacing. The pacing in the film is kind of, you know, it's a little choppy. I'll just use the word choppy because I find that, like, you know, a lot of slasher films, you know, something will happen, then you'll have a little bit of downtime, something else happen. Well, that happens in this film. I just find the downtime at times is like almost too much in between, like these kind of really, you know, kind of cool scenes and things like that. So the pacing kind of hurts the film a little bit, in my opinion. I've always kind of felt it's a little slow at times, but on the flip side, I think that the kills in this movie are pretty cool. There's some really interesting stuff in here. There's a really cool kill with a gaff. I won't say exactly what happens with it, but it's a really cool scene. And overall, the gore effects are actually pretty damn cool, which I never really noticed on the old Dragon DVD because the Dragon DVD is kind of muddy. It's, you know, it's very kind of shitty looking and things like that. This transfer is absolutely fucking beautiful. It really showcases the gore effects and what they did and stuff. And you know, it's kind of unfortunate that they never got to do some of the effects how they wanted to do them because they just simply didn't work out. You know, it's kind of funny, which is kind of cool because I watched the documentary that was actually made for this release called Fall Breakers, and it's literally, you know, made by Arrow Films, and it's new. All materials new. Of course, they got everyone back, pretty much all the main characters, the director and, you know, both directors and stuff. In interviews, and they're explaining exactly everything in this film, and it just makes it so much more intriguing, you know, after you watch the film and you go back and watch it and stuff. And it's really, really well done. I highly recommend this release. It's just fantastic. But, you know, getting back to the film, I think the characters, it's one of those films where they're all likable. There's just a ton of likable characters in this film, really kind of goofy things, but not overly goofy to the point where you're like, what the fuck, man? Like, he's just trying too hard, blah, blah, blah. You know, like some films where, like, you know, the jokester is just over the top and just ridiculous and stuff like that. There's just scenes that you can tell when you're watching this film that were completely just kind of ad-libbed and just kind of on the spot, you know, improvised and things like that, which they did. You know, they did things like that, which is kind of cool. But very, very, you know, it's a fun film. It's not a great slasher film. The kills definitely are the highlight of the film, along with the music is pretty cool. It's actually not bad cinematography considering the director, Buddy Cooper, was his first and only film that he ever directed. You know, it's kind of a shame, but kind of cool in the documentary, getting back to the documentary, that, you know, he even talks about how he would love to do a sequel to this film in this documentary that was just made a couple months ago. So, and he's like, I would just love to do it. I have an idea. I even have a script for it. I'm just like, what the fuck? This is really crazy. So, I think that'd be just outstanding. But yeah, The Mutilator overall, fun film to watch. Not the best in the world. I give it 6.5 out of 10. As for the the documentary Fall Breakers, definitely check out Fall Breakers. It's really in depth. Awesome interviews with all the cast members, the directors and stuff, and they go into depth. They just talk about everything. I mean, the whole making of the film is on this documentary. It's really intriguing how it was filmed in Buddy Cooper's small town, and he was kind of he was very well known there. I guess his dad was like a big he's very well known in the small town, and so was he and stuff. And so they go into that, and it's really kind of cool how a lot of the people in the film were associated. Like the little boy was his son, and blah blah blah, and things like that. But yeah, really good documentary. It's full length. It's like 80 minutes or something like that. So yeah, definitely worth it. But The Mutilator, awesome release. The transfer is just to die for. It's like, it's fucking amazing. It really is absolutely amazing. They even go into like, talking about 42nd Street and things like that, which is kind of interesting because how they went into that and how it ran on 42nd Street for like so long and stuff. And oddly enough, I'd actually watched I'd watched Pieces a couple days ago, the Grindhouse release, and I watched the documentary that's on it called 42nd Street Forever. And it's a full-length documentary about 42nd Street in New York and the history of it, like the rise and fall of it and things like that. And it's just absolutely fucking amazing to watch. I recommend everybody that gets the Pieces documentary, Pieces Blu-ray, to check out the documentary because it is so worth your time. I mean, Pieces just, in all its glory. I mean, the high def transfer is just ridiculously awesome. It's so good. Check out 42nd Street documentary. Also, it's just amazing. I guess I probably could have done the documentary review separately, but whatever. But anyways, the 42nd Street led into one into the other, but really good stuff. Mutilator. Awesome. Check it out. It's good stuff. Alrighty, so that is going to conclude the third What We Watched show. In 75 episodes. Yep. Yeah, I had a lot of fun, man. These are such fun shows to do. Like, how you feeling, man?
Honestly, these are some of my favorite shows to do because I really can just talk about anything I want. And even when we do What We Watch regularly, we usually limit it to 2 or 3 films, so it's nice to kind of talk about a few more. And they're relaxing. I just always have liked the What We Watched shows. And I think the best time to do them usually is either after a long break where we haven't recorded in a while because you have a lot of films to talk about, or after like a big show like the top 10 of 2002. I mean, you could have unloaded all the 2002 films that didn't make our top 10 list if we wanted, but yeah. Those are always fun. I really, really enjoy these shows. Let us know, listeners, if you enjoy them, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, when I was on holidays, I didn't really watch any movies. I actually brought the Video Nasties documentaries with me, and I ended up watching all 13 hours of both of them again. So just late at night and stuff while I was sitting in the hotel room. But yeah, I didn't really watch any movies at all. So pretty much everything I'd watched was in this past week. So kind of came home and I was like, I gotta buckle down and watch some fucking movies here. I did watch a lot though. I had a list of, I actually added 3 more. I had 13 movies on here that I could have done. So yeah.
Yeah. You watched more than I did in the time that I was, while you was not watching stuff.
Well, I mean, other ones that were on the cut here to do. I mean, I watched Castle of Blood from 1964. I rewatched Pieces, which we have reviewed, but I guess I didn't really review the 42nd Street documentary, but just talked about it. But House of Wax from 53, Monster Dog from 84, The Mildew from Planet Zondar, however you want to pronounce the new Necrostorm film. Watched that one, a couple other ones. So
I've watched 12 movies since we recorded.
Yeah.
Last time.
Nice. Well, I even watched Hellraiser. I watched the Arrow release of Hellraiser, and I watched Leviathan, the documentary. I've been just watching documentaries like fucking crazy, man. I just love them. Leviathan is pretty good, man. It's pretty much it's just a lot of praising of Clive Barker and how much he's a genius.
Well, he is.
and they just talk about, it's funny. It's kind of too bad though when you watch Leviathan, because there is, updated, like new interviews with a few people. Unfortunately, there is none with Clive Barker. Like all the footage that they show of Clive Barker is from about the time where they filmed Hellraiser, like 86, 87 kind of thing. And of course, Ashley Lawrence, all the footage of her is like older too. So I was kind of disappointed in that a little bit, that there was nothing new for them.
Yeah.
But it is mostly about just the creation of Hellraiser, like how they created, the Cenobites, and like how they came to be, and just praising Clive Barker for how creative he is, and like just being a genius. They just said
you should have reviewed that.
But like how he's just unbelievable, because they would say something, then he would take that idea and he would just kind of roll with it, and he'd be like, doing this and doing that, and he just multitasking, and it's just like, guy's insane, really. But but I do have to say though, Hellraiser, because I heard from a few different people that the Hellraiser transfer wasn't that good and stuff. It looks great. It really does look good. So yeah, it's definitely worth it. But if you got a Region 2 Blu-ray player, pick up the set, man. It's good stuff.
Sweet.
Documentaries, man. Fuck that 42nd Street documentary is so good, man. I know you'd love it. It's great. It's so interesting to hear, man. It's really good stuff. So, but anyways, going off on a tangent again. I think we're like roughly 4 hours into the show or something like that. So we might as well wrap it up. Yes, that was awesome. I want to thank everybody for calling into the show, leaving the voicemails. We love them. Rob, you always have great stories, and everyone else, Count Dracula, Lawrence, and whoever else called in and left us a line. We appreciate it, man. Awesome.
Absolutely. JP. So, like Moodz said, we love voicemails, so if you want to leave one, you can at 724-426-6665. Again, that is 724-426-6665. Follow us on Twitter. I actually tweet quite frequently now because I kind of list what I'm watching and stuff with my 365-day movie challenge. That's 22 Shots Podcast on Twitter. Facebook, the best group around. We're near 700 members strong. We've been 700. We've lost a few, back to 700. It's like weird. But facebook.com/group/22 Shots Podcast. Also, you can follow our YouTube creations. I am Double Shot J on YouTube, where my new video series is pretty entertaining, I think, where I just talk about it's essentially what we watched in video form. So check that out. Of course, the homie Moodz 616 on YouTube. That guy is constantly putting out great content that I sometimes watch, and he yells at me for it.
I noticed that you did watch a couple of the top 10 Tuesdays. That was interesting.
Yeah,
did you watch the Hammer one?
I did.
Oh, you did watch that.
All films I never seen. And the website 22shotsmoodsandhorror.com. There you can find something that people, I swear, do not know about, and that is our ratings. Everything that we ever rate is listed on the section at the top of the page that says ratings. You click that, and then it's alphabetical, and then you click, like, for example, you click B, and it'll take you to every film that starts with a B that we rated, such as The Babadook, Badass Cinema, Backlot Murders, Bad vs. Worst, Bait, Banshee Chapter, Barrio Tales. The list goes on and on. But not only that, not only does it say our ratings, but it actually has a link to the episode where we talked about it. And then when you click that, you will see down in the descriptions, like I just clicked, The Doctor and the Devils. If you go down to the description of that episode, at 2 hours, 29 minutes, and 53 seconds, we talk about The Doctor and the Devils. So that is a key, guys. So all you people that ask, like, hey, have you ever reviewed this? Just check the ratings page, dog. And then just follow the steps,
Yeah, dog.
Also, if you're curious about our top 10 lists, those are published on the website as well in like picture form, so you don't have to listen to the whole episode, but I don't know why you wouldn't want to anyway. But if you just need a quick reference, like, oh, I think I remember that was on JP's list, you can check. Also, we have the Hall of Fame and Hall of Pain, which is of course whenever we rate a film really high or combined really low, it gets entered into the either Hall of Fame for good stuff or the Hall of Pain for bad stuff. And I actually got to update it with May, because May has made our Hall of Fame. And all kind of other stuff on there as well. I'm playing a 22 shot screenshot game right now that's really fun. People are liking that. And also check us out on Horrorphilia, which is our home where you can download the show, subscribe to us on iTunes, as well as all kind of other cool podcasts. It's a whole network of podcasts, guys. So with that said, I don't think I left anything out except for rate us on iTunes. Damn it. That always helps us. And it actually did help us quite a bit when you guys did. So with that said, I'm JP. That's Moodz. We're done. We're through. We're out.
Peace.